Yeah, I'm alive. Hi, guys.
Gnarly chaotic. Listen, it's so gnarly. Whatever is coming at this end of the age, we will have zero context for what's going to unfold. Creation is still restrained from going.
Hi, Diane. Hi, Gigabyte. Hi, Phil. Good to see you guys.
What's getting ready to happen, that men's hearts will literally fail them. People are going to drop dead. This is why this is so devastating, yet awesome at the same time. You are foreknown to be a part of it. Everybody tracking? As we talk about the things that the Lord has called me in obedience to share with you guys today, do not forget the literal presence of the living God is in you. You can't get away from the love of God. Sorry, tag, you're it. You're the object of his love. You're the object of his obsessive pursuit. You're the object of his delights and of his good pleasure. You are it. It doesn't mean that you're going to be free from afflictions, free from sorrow, free from tribulations. All those are only affirming that this world is not your home. Not only is it not your home, it's actually not worthy of you. Does everybody understand that? It's not worthy of you because literally the Spirit of Christ dwells in you. It dwells in you, and therefore the world's not worthy of you. And no matter what comes, every high and stormy gale, your anchor holds within the veil because Christ literally dwells in you. So, the Lord gave me a word this week. Wasn't looking for it. Wasn't fishing for it. Wasn't trying to manifest it like, name it, claim it, blab it, grab it, counterfeit, charismatic stuff going on out there all the play. The Lord just started speaking and I started writing. And he said, this is what you're to tell my people. And I was processing what had happened this past year. I told you guys before we hit play for the rest of our church online that, the Lord is just revealing my personal year. It was a year of violence. I had a year of nothing but violence. Violence from the onset. Violence from false brethren, false men, haters, and wickedness in the deepest degree of visceral malice and hatred. A year of violence. And I'm processing this year of violence. Like, Lord, what would you have me to know? What do you want to sanctify to me, God? And let me call to glory all the ways that you've sustained me. You sustained me. I bent, but I didn't break, God. By your grace, I didn't break. Lord, I was pushed back and about to fall, but your strong right arm lifted me out of the muck and the mire, God, and you put a new song in my mouth. Lord, I was pressed, but I wasn't crushed. The whole man was I perplexed, but I wasn't given over to despair. Man, was I persecuted, but you didn't let me be killed by it. Praise be to you, God. And I said, Lord, what would you have me to say as we look forward to a new year? As we talked about, the Lord says, remember, remember, remember. Yes. Oh, but then forget. Forget the former things. Don't even think of them. Don't even dwell on them. Remember not. Look forward. I'm doing a new thing, right? So I'm always going, okay, it's a new year, God. What would you want us to do? What would you want us to know and understand, Lord? What do you want for the sheep of your pasture, for our hearts, for the sheep of your pasture? What do you want? And he goes, right? What I'm about ready to tell you. And it wasn't what I expected. Okay? So I'm just going to get into it. And we'll share it. So this is a solemn assembly. Everybody tracking? We are called to gather the solemn assembly. There's time for rejoicing and the tambourine and the lyre and the blah, 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 and all the, and the dancing and the singing and the rejoicing before the Lord. But there's also manifold times where he calls his people to be very sober, very somber, very solemn as they come into his presence, because he is a holy God and he is fearsome. I don't care what the church has told you the last 80 years. He is fearsome. Okay, so I'm just going to read. And I'll make qualifiers where I'm interjecting what he was showing me as he was saying this, okay? So I'm going to read. I'll just read. How about that? We'll get into it. This first part is me speaking with the Lord, and then I'll tell you what his response was, okay? So I'll tell you when it transitions to what the Lord has to say. This is me talking to the Lord. And you alone, O Lord, I put my trust. I do not trust in man, nor the strength of my legs. And these things you take no pleasure, Lord. They are a vain, vain hope, and they cannot satisfy. But you, O Lord, are my portion, and you are my heart's desire. I pant for you like a man wandering in the desert wilderness. I long for your intimate presence as a widow cries out for her covering to be restored. There's a lot of hurting people out there, if you're not aware. And if you're not aware, then you better start engaging more people. People are broken, man. They are broken out there. Okay. So it said, I long for you, for your intimate presence as a widow cries out for her covering to be restored. When my eyes betrayed me, Lord, when they wander from the one I love, your mercy draws me near once more. I praise you, Abba, for you do not leave me to myself. You do not leave me to myself. O shepherd of my soul, call out my name on the barren heights. Call me near to you for my good. Lead me by your spirit, for the flesh of man is like an open grave before you, turning away all who pass by it. Pour out your power from on high, my Lord. In love and in faithfulness, be near to your servant. I have nothing apart from you. Spirit, lead me. I have no wisdom, no strength, no revelation, no power apart from you. Keep me from the vanity of this life, the vanity of the flesh, of the activities devoid of the power of your presence and of your love. I don't know what to say, Lord. I don't know what to do. Armies are amassing. Deceptions are sweeping the earth. The devil is preparing. Your people are scoffing. Zion is being threatened with destruction. Lawlessness is the only law of the land. The end of the age is at hand. It is here now, O Lord. What would you have me to say or do, Lord? I will wait and hope for your answer. That was my request before the Lord. Lord began to speak. Tell my people, strengthen yourselves in me this day. Steady the feeble in spirit. Call out to the wayward, treading upon the barren heights. Give the heart's cry, repent, for the ink has dried, and all that has been written will now come to pass. If I inflect on a word, it's because he did.
Hey, Shawnee, good to see you.
Particularly written in here, verbatim as he speaks it, right? Okay, he said, for the ink has dried and all that has been written will now come to pass. The end of the...
Phil, why is that your last post? How come that's your last post, brother?
Age is here. Now is the hour of revelation. I will reveal the secret things, those things long hidden by the darkness. Fear and anxiety and great confounding confusion will sweep the inhabitants of the earth. And I will reveal the heart of each man to himself. Their secret desires of the flesh, their devotion to the world, to Hades, and to the grave will be brought into the light once and for all time. The time for each man to drink the contents of their cup is come, and drink they will, drink it all to the dregs. Oh, that my people would choose me alone. Mercy upon mercy, grace upon grace, and exceedingly great love, and my delight of blessed patience. I have cried out for the hearts of men, for the hearts of my very own people, in intimate pursuit. Yet so few have turned towards me. And now, son, you must know that the end of the age is near. It is upon you. I started wrestling with the Lord for a little bit about this. What does this even mean, God? And this is my dialogue. Like, what are you saying? I don't understand. What does this mean? What does this mean, the end of the age? I can't conceive of it. I don't understand it. I have no basis for it. This was his response. Sorrow will seize you like a strong man from which there is no escape, as you watch many, so many, abandon the faith and violently hate one another. He gave us a type and shadow of that this year. He said this is only the beginning. Remember I shared that word earlier? This is only the beginning. So this is one. He kind of bullet pointed it out. Sorrow. Sorrow will seize you like a strong man from which there is no escape, as you watch many, so many, abandon the faith and violently hate one another. Terror, son, terror will grip the inhabitants of the earth, all those who have not taken refuge in me. The sights will melt men's hearts like wax before a furnace, and nothing will console them or save them. Many, most, will not endure what their eyes will soon bear witness to. He showed me the sights. It was all about what you're going to see. The sights are incomprehensible. Sights of things we can't reconcile in our own brain. We can't conceive of. Our fictional based imaginations can't reconcile what terror is getting ready to come on the earth. We have no basis for it, okay? He showed me it. Next, blindness. Blindness, son. A maddening blindness will sweep over the souls of men. By the way, you know your soul is kind of like your mentation, right? Most people think they interchange soul and spirit. They're not interchanging. Your soul is kind of like your secular humanistic faculties, right? That's the soul of a man. Blindness, son. A maddening blindness will sweep over the souls of men. Truth, though ever so simple and obvious, will flee from the minds of humanity. In its place will be lie upon lie, deception upon deception. The most absurd and foolish of schemes will be embraced by the peoples with fervor and intrigue and a violence towards the truth that will perplex you beyond your ability to conceive of. Watch and be amazed. This is my derision and my contempt upon those who have hated what is true and pure and good. And this derision will fall upon my people as well. All those who swear by my name, but whose hearts are so very far from me. What the Lord showed me with blindness is these strange deceptions and plots and schemes and intrigues through men and powers of darkness and government will be so ridiculously absurd and very overtly a deception. And yet, because of the delusions, people are going to clamor for them, and they're going to cling to them, and they're going to embrace them with a hyper demonic based fervor. And then they are going to hate and violently overthrow anybody who will not enter into that delusion with them. He showed me like a groping blindness, like clawing, like people literally physically clawing at the dirt and clawing at the walls and clawing at their own faces in blindness of the truth, and instead clinging to all these, the most absurd, as in drones or whatever it is, right? Like absurd, very simple lies and deceptions. They're one after another, after another, after another. You're going to hear things you never thought heard. You're going to hear things from elected officials. You're going to hear things from governments. You're going to hear things from religious officials. You're going to hear things that are so insanely ridiculous, like the Pope opening 5 portals, and people's going to go, yes, that is good. Galactic Federation, yes. Grays, I mean, you name it. He said, it's time. I have spoken Isaiah 24. I have spoken Amos 5. I have spoken to my servant Zephaniah, and now I'm speaking to those with ears to hear. Very plain. Let me read Isaiah 24, Amos 5, and Zephaniah before we go on. This is still the Lord speaking. He said, tell them this is what to expect. Isaiah 24. Beginning in verse 16. But I said, I waste away, woe to me, the treacherous betray, and with treachery the treacherous betray. Terror and pit and snare await you, O people of the earth. Whoever flees at the sound of terror will fall into a pit. Whoever climbs out of the pit will be caught in a snare. The floodgates of heaven are opened. The foundations of the earth shake. The earth is broken up. The earth is split asunder. The earth is thoroughly shaken. The earth reels like a drunkard. It sways in the hut like a hut in the wind. So heavy upon it is the guilt of its rebellion that it falls never to rise again. And that day the Lord will punish the powers of heaven above and the kings of the earth below. Amos 5. Starting in verse 18. Woe to you who long for the day of the Lord. Why do you long for the day of the Lord? That day will be darkness, not light. It will be as though a man fled from a lion, only to meet a bear, as though he entered his house to rest his hand on a wall, only to be bitten by a snake. Will not the day of the Lord be darkness, not light, pitch black without a ray of brightness? Zephaniah, beginning in 1:14 through 2:3. The great day of the Lord is near and coming quickly. Remember, he said, I said, Lord, what does this mean? And this is still his response to what it meant when he said, I'm telling you, the end of the age is now. And then he's given all this context for what that means. Zephaniah 1:14 through 2:3. The great day of the Lord is near and coming quickly. Listen, the cry on the day of the Lord will be bitter, the shouting of the warrior there. That day will be a day of wrath, a day of distress and anguish, a day of trouble and ruin, a day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds and blackness, a day of trumpet and battle cry against the fortified cities and against the corner towers. I will bring distress on the people, and they will walk like blind men. He had just told me. Well, I have no context for these verses. Everybody understand that? I have no context for these verses. He just said, blindness, son. Blindness is going to come over the people. Here he says, I will bring distress on the people. They will walk like blind men because they have sinned against the Lord. Their blood will be poured out like dust, and their entrails like filth. Neither their silver nor their gold will be able to save them on the day of the Lord's wrath. In the fire of his jealousy, the whole world will be consumed, for he will make a sudden end of all who live on the earth. Gather together, O shameful nation, before the appointed time arrives, and that day sweeps on like chaff, before the fierce anger of the Lord comes upon you, before the day of the Lord's wrath comes upon you. Seek the Lord, all you humble the land, you who do what he commands. Seek righteousness, seek humility. Perhaps you will be sheltered on the day of the Lord's anger. He continued, yes, the end of the age is here. The hour of revelation is at hand. By revelation, he wasn't meaning the book of Revelation, yes, but like things you can't comprehend are going to just be like put onto the scene. Everything's going to be about what you see, is what he was showing me. Revelation of men's hearts, revelation of your own heart, revelation of ancient history, revelation of crazy technologies, revelation of what the powers of darkness are capable of, revelations on ways you can, revelations of hatred and betrayal and false brethren, revelation of everything is going to be completely exposed. He said, now, that our revelation is now. Things you can't, I don't care what perspective you want to look at it from. He said it's all going to just be laid bare. Here it is. Here it is. From Genesis to Revelation, things hidden. All the, by the way, occultic means hidden if you didn't know. All things occultic, all things esoteric, all things in the hearts of men, all things in your own heart. All of it is going to be laid bare. Okay. That's the context when I'm saying revelation that he showed me.
Hey, boss, good to see you, mate.
The end of the age is here. The hour of revelation is at hand. Whoa. I take no pleasure in what must happen next. Weep and wail and mourn. Yet know this, in my great love and compassion, it will come to an end. Know this, because of my great love and compassion, it has come to an end. I started having a side conversation with the Lord, like, what do you mean by these deceptions? What are these deceptions, God? Because it immediately, me and my humanistic, I go to like Project Bluebeam or Alien Deception or some like, what does this mean, this great deception? So I'm wrestling this out with the Lord. This is what he said. Very simple statement. The deceptions, my S is underlined like 5 times. He's like, deceptions. Very emphasize that word, plural. The deceptions will be unique according to each one's flesh. And he showed me that it is unique to each man's personal sin proclivity. If Trump is your God, that's where the deception is going to come through. If money, it's going to come through that. If religious haughtiness, it's going to come through that. If your Torah observance, it's going to come through that. If it's Islam, it's going to come through that. If it's the Galactic Federation, it's going to come through that. If it's through New Age teaching and occultic practices, it's going to come through that. If it's alien stuff, if it's Gnosticism, if it's government, if it's military, if it's religious deceptions and false teachers, whatever each man's personal proclivity is, he showed me their deception will be unique to them.
Wow.
And to what their heart's desire has been all along, which is...
That's a detail you just don't make up, isn't it?
Whoa. Okay. It's not a blanket deception. It'll be unique to each man. Unique to each man's proclivities. Okay?
Wow.
So then he concludes with this. Stay close. Tell my people to stay very, very close to me. I have great plans in store for those who fear me and who revere me above even their very lives. They will bend, but they will not break, for I have given a command concerning them all. Great ills and woes will befall them too, but with my own right hand I will sustain them all, each one according to their intimate needs. Notice he said it about those who are far from him, and then he said it about those who are close. Each one in intimacy to what they specifically need. My right hand will sustain them in intimacy. Okay? My delight and my good pleasure rest upon them. And I will not grow weary or tired in watching them and watching over them all for their good. Even in death, I myself will take them by the hand.
Diane, I took a screenshot of that and I'm going to post it on the Atheists First Christians debate on Facebook. That Bible is man-made. I'm going to post that.
And will whisper in their ears things known only between me and them. I've seen the intimacy. That's why it's hard to get it out. Very intimate. These are the things I will do, and I will not forsake them. To my beloved, that's you all. patiently endure for my name's sake. Much is soon to be required of you, but I will not leave you in your own strength. Yes, much will be required of you, but you were foreknown before the foundations of the earth for this day and for this hour. Yes, much will be required of you, but know this, my reward is with me, and my reward will not disappoint. Again, I say, endure patiently. I'm coming to you soon, and I myself will restore you with my own hand. There's something unique about the end of the age that we'll break into, and I don't say this from any position of understanding. Everybody tracking? I have no understanding of this. I have no clue, and it would be an extremity of folly and hubris to pretend to understand what any of this means. I have no clue what it means. I have the word. I know what the Spirit has said. I know what the word lays out, but none of us can actually understand what that means, the end of the age. And as the Lord gave me this, I was instantly drawn into different teachings like Dr. Ken Johnson and Josh Peck and Dr. Reynold Price and a lot of other people out there. Well-placed, irrefutable academic work regarding the end of the age according to the Essenes. And what is so mind-boggling is that according to the Essenes, because I re-dug into all this stuff because of the word, I'm like, oh my God, what does that mean? It's the end of the ages now? What does that mean? So I started digging and digging, like, what is the end of the age? Well, just so you know, according to the Essenes, which were of the order of Zadok, they were like, we'll call them a sectarian, a sect of the Levitical order. They were the only ones that, even according to Josephus, have 100% accuracy in all prophetic interpretations. The only ones ever, 100%. They're the ones who received Christ in his earthly ministry. They were the ones that said over 200 years in advance that Christ is going to die at this age, at this day, at this time. The Messiah is going to come. This is how he's going to come. This is exactly what it's going to look like. And it was fulfilled to the day and the hour that they said, because they kept to the scriptures. They were the ones that actually had the prophecy by the unction of the Holy Spirit that the testimony that God would reject the Levitical order, and all that they had done with the law would be that the curtain in the temple would be rent from top to bottom. They're the ones that said the cord would no longer turn white. There's a cord in the temple that's laid out in Deuteronomy and Leviticus. They said that it all happened. The thing was written to, and they said that the Levitical order would be rejected because they would reject the Messiah. They said they called everything to the day, to the time, to the whatever. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John were Essenes. People don't know that. John the Baptist was an Essene. People don't know that. He was of the order of Zadok. That's why he baptized Christ. When John baptized Christ, it wasn't for the forgiveness of sins. He was baptizing them into the order of Zadok, which is of the line of Melchizedek. That's why all this is related. It was the Melchizedekian order versus the not so good order. In fact, everything was an exact paradoxical counter to the Pharisees. So actually, this order of Zadok and the Essenes were called the sons of light. Do you know who the sons of darkness were? The Pharisees. That's why Jesus, he was making a distinction between the Essenes and the Pharisees. The Essene order is so radically significant to God, it's actually embedded everywhere in there, but from our Western-centric evangelical reality, we don't pick up on it, right? We don't understand why they're saying this thing. The reason why the apostles received the apostle Paul and instantly gave him the right hand of fellowship, do you know why? Because the Essenes had said 270 years earlier, they had said from a prophetic word that Christ was going to fulfill, or the Messiah was going to fulfill the law. He was going to die on this day, on this time, to the T fulfilled. And then at the appointed time, a Benjamite who formerly persecuted God's people would actually bring it all together and teach all the Gentiles the majesty of the completed work of Messiah. The Apostle Paul was the Benjamite. So when he came and said, hey, gents, My name's Paul. I used to kill you guys. I sequestered myself with the Lord for 13 years. I want to see if I got this thing right.
Hey, Rose, good to see
what's going
you.
on with Paul, and they go, boom, right hand of fellowship. Because they
Hey, I was never here. Good to see you.
Exactly what they're like. This is the guy. We know who we're looking for because the Essenes. Okay, why am I? There's so much more. I could go on. I have multiple pages of notes. The Essenes had a particular calendar that was a solar calendar. The Pharisees literally created a deliberate apostasy. That's why they were called a brood of vipers. You're of the father of the devil. The Pharisees were intentionally created deliberately and full knowing by the unction of Satan himself, a deliberate apostasy. That's why John the Baptist, Jesus, anybody who encountered him, called them the devil, a brood of vipers, which actually the transliteration is you are of the dragon of old, is what they're saying. You are of the dragon. You are descendants and offspring of the dragon, which is why they said, who told you guys where to come hear the word of truth? You understand why they were instantly there was no grace for Pharisees? Anybody pick up on that? It's because the Essenes, the sons of light, were actually at a cosmic warfare level with the sons of darkness, literally even opposing calendars. The Essenes maintained a solar calendar because they knew if you performed something, one of God's commands, wrong, on the wrong day, in the wrong way, and the wrong time, you were dead. And so they had so much fear of the Lord, they maintained everything perfectly because of fear of God. The Pharisees intentionally created a lunar calendar. Everybody who says if you worship God on Sunday, which would be solar, versus Saturday, which is that, whatever. I won't get into it, right? They specifically created a lunar calendar. This is why all this Torah observance stuff is antithetical to the basis, the baseline foundation of the scriptures. They created a lunar calendar to perfectly offset all the days so that you wouldn't receive Jesus as a Messiah. Did you know that? It was a long-term strategy. Oh, side note, by the way, there are 7,000 years of human history. Remember, they are 100% accurate. Nobody has ever done that. Each age has 2,000 years. You have the age of chaos, right? That's from creation to Abraham. 2,000 years of chaos is one age, the age of chaos. Then you have the age of Torah, which is the age of the law, that God gave them the law to expose their transgressions and to prepare them to receive Christ. So then you have the age of Torah. Then you have the age of grace, 2,000 years, 2,000 years, 2,000 years, tracking. And then the final age, which is the 1,000-year age, which is the millennial reign. Everybody tracking? 7,000 years of human history. That's why I love watching History Channel or Nat Geo, and they're like, 78 bazillion, trillion, gazillion years ago, dinosaurs walked the earth. And I'm like, or maybe about 800 years ago, there was just dinosaurs still walking on the earth, right? So according to the Essenes, there's these distinct ages, and remember 100% accuracy. I'm going somewhere with this. The end of the age of grace, or the beginning of the final jubilee to the end of the age of grace, begins in 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Wow.
They've never been wrong. They have never been wrong. 2025, according to...
So is that 2 weeks till tribulation? That's what it sounds like.
The Essenes that are walked the closest with the Lord ever, that all the apostles were Essenes, and John the Baptist was Essene, Zechariah was an Essene, all these guys were Essenes because they fear God. And in fact, it says, when it says, and many of the Levites received him that day, when it says the masses came to know the Lord, it's actually speaking to a particular sectarian construct of the Levites, which was the order of Zadok the Essenes. It was the Essenes that received them. When it says in about 3,000 were added to their numbers, and many believed, there's all this scholarly work, all kinds of great scholarly work that came out of the Qumran from the Dead Sea Scrolls. They were all Essenes. That's why they received Christ. They knew exactly who they were looking for. They knew exactly who it was. And when they saw him, they're like, that's the Messiah. They weren't like the Pharisees. They were like, no, he's not a conquering king. He's supposed to exalt us. By the way, side note on Essenes as well. They were the only Levitical order that knew and believed and taught that God's love was for all of humanity, not just the Jews.
Well, I
And that
never
the
knew that.
entirety of the fall and the redemption and the reconciliation and restoration was for Jew and Gentile and everybody alike. They preached the love of God. The Essenes did, if you didn't know that. Okay? Very, very definitive. 2025. 2025. See and say,
Shawnee, and he also told the Hindus, the Muslims, the Sikhs, the Buddhists, they all went and met Pope Francis, and he said, all your religions are paths back to God. It's just your own nationality flavour to it. So he said, all religions lead to God. And I've seen him say that.
the beginning of the final Jubilee. 50
Or
year period. Some
spokesman
of you are
anyway.
familiar with these different time frames, right? You have
Hang on, man.
ages, and then you have onas, and then you have jubilees, and then you have shmitas, and then you have years. It's kind of the breakdown of how they calculate time, right? It's the final Jubilee, the last Jubilee. So somewhere, according to the Essenes, not me, it's not me. According to I'm saying this so that there's evidence for what I'm speaking. Somewhere between 2025 and 2075, every single detail and iota of scriptures of the second coming of Christ must be fulfilled, restored, reconciled, and rebuilt for him to come and rule and reign for the millennial reign on earth. All of it. Every single detail must be fulfilled somewhere in the next 25 years. I mean, next 50 years. I'm thinking 2025. And that's why when the Lord gave me this word, I'm like, oh God. Oh my God. I know exactly what I'm looking at. We can't look at it in the simple context of like this, the end of the, like it's the end of the age and everything flips over, right? Like it doesn't just flip over. There's always these transitions periods. So we can't look at it with these simple contexts, but you have to think about it like this. All the major series of events must take place, and then here's the key thing, and be reconciled to some degree before the end of the age. So somewhere in this window that starts very soon, 2025, it all has to be reconciled. Think about all these things that have to take place, and then the fallout, and then the overcome, and then the rebuilding, and then the restructuring, then the reimplementation, and all these things, the logistics that go into it. The burden of Damascus. Do you guys know what's going on in Syria?
Yeah.
You know that literally, they're literally marching on Damascus and mobilizing around it right now to lay waste it right now in real time. The Psalm 83 war, Ezekiel 38 and 39 war. Some would say there's varying opinions on when that war takes place. Some say it's at the end of the millennial reign, right? Zechariah 14, destruction of both Jerusalem and then Israel's enemies, which reads like nuclear war. And they can't go in because it's unclean and the bodies have to lay there, blah, blah. That has to occur somewhere in this time. The tribulation, astrocatastrophism, great deceptions, lying signs and wonders, signs in the sun and the moon and the stars, fearful sights, some kind of pole shift crustal plate anomaly that literally makes the earth staggered like a drunkard, like a hut in the wind on its axis. All this has to occur somewhere in this very narrow window that begins in 2025. Magnetosphere disruptions and searing solar activity. It talks about the heat, and they hide themselves from the heat and blah, blah, blah. Have you heard what's going on in the sun? Do you guys know what's going on with the magnetosphere? This thing is coming. It's happening in real time. They're like, dude, the hydro conveyor, the jet stream, the crustal plate, that's what triggers earthquakes, solar flares, coronal.
Sean, the Catholics are behind Islam. They invented Islam. The Catholics did to get the Arabs. That was the goal.
Mass ejections is what makes earthquakes. And then you get the tsunamis, and then you get the roaring of the sea and waves, and then you get the perplexity about these things happening on the earth. Then you get this bewilderment. All these things that scripture speaks about. Unimaginable storms, super waves, one after another, after another, after another. Did you guys see what happened in Santa Monica?
What?
Road waves striking the beach, wiping out piers. It didn't just happen there. It happened up in the Northwest. And then it happened over in Malaysia. And then and they're going, what is happening? Everybody keeps saying the number one thing I keep hearing in all the news bits is never before. It's never before. Record. It's a record this. It's a record that. Never before. They don't understand. They're already perplexed.
Never before did it snow in the Sahara Desert, but it did a few months ago.
They're already perplexed, right? Great apostasy, a wholesale abandoning of the faith by the vast majority of professing Christians. I mean, virtually all. So much so that Jesus says, when I return, will I find any faith in the land? He's concerned. We know he's not, but he's concerned, right? Wholesale persecution and slaughter of those who do remain faithful. Crazy technologies, genetic warfare and transhumanism, days of Noah stuff, veils tearing between the seen and unseen stuff, transgenic monstrosities coming out of the earth to torment people stuff, Joel 2 and Revelation 13, 14, bottomless pit, whatever. You guys can look it up. Angels loose from the Euphrates, angels loose from this place, supernatural armies amassing and making war against the inhabitants of the earth, rapture-based doctrinal stuff. I don't care what your rapture doctrine is. All that is going to occur in this window that begins in 2025. Creation altering stuff, earth sciences in ways we can't even understand, human reconditioning through global trauma that makes you clamor for a different type of government, a different type of reality, a different type of control mechanisms, central bank digital currencies already in place, social credit scores already in place, a complete unity under hyper-spiritualism already in place, deceptions of which you can't even see already burgeoning onto the scene. And all of this has to occur, and then the rebuilding of it all after all the destruction. It says a quarter of the world's population killed, then a third of the world, the third that's left of that, then another third that's left of that, then another third that's left of that. Do the math. I did. Virginia goes, what are you doing math for? I was like, I'm trying to calculate at 8.8 billion, how many people will actually be killed? How many? You want to know how many? 5.6 billion. Off of the biblical numbers that it says. 5.6 billion at 8.8. Those are definitive. That doesn't talk about the suicides and the other deaths and the starvation. Those are just the definitive, like, whoa, big show things, right? Like, those are the big show numbers. Like a third were killed by this, by that one thing, a third. That's not including all the other stuff that's going on. At the end of the age of Torah, right? Moving into the age of grace, which we are a benefactor of. Let me give you a context. This is why I'm saying 2025 matters. And what the Lord spoke to me is so insane. Because here's what happened at that age, from everybody tracking, age of Torah into the age of grace, which we are beneficiaries of. Jesus was born in 2 AD. He dies in 32 AD. The church is started in 32 AD and spreads all over the whole face of the earth. All the known pagan world, for the most part, was flipped upside down on its head. All of it. Philip went to India. They went to Rome. They went to blah, blah. All the polytheistic, pantheon-based, hardcore things in a matter of years was overthrown on its head, right? Then Jerusalem, the Jerusalem temple was destroyed in 70 AD. The Alexandria Yassine temple was destroyed in 73 AD. 3 years later, that was, now there is no active Judaism left, period. Annihilated, done, all done. Completely rejected the Levitical order. They never practiced a single thing until recently in modern history. It was wiped off. Even the language itself was lost. Does everybody know that? It was gone. The nation was gone. The temple was gone. The law was gone. All of it was gone by 73 AD. The law and the temple conduct and the word of the Lord through the old covenantal way of speaking was all done, all completely done. And just so you know, the end of the age of grace didn't actually start until 75 AD. So everything that needed to happen for the transition to the age of grace was done before it started. Everybody hear that?
Yeah.
It was all done before it started. So the presupposition is that everything regarding the second coming of Christ to the last age. The age of grace ends in 2025. That is not me saying that. That is what the smarty pants of the world have said and has been being said for over 2,000 years. To the detail without one error. 2025 is the end of age of grace. That means everything has to occur somewhere very short, completed before the millennial reign of Christ begins in 2075. So now it might give you some context to Apophis. It might give you some context to the wars and rumors of war. It might give you some context to the emerging technologies, to the drones, to the Project Bluebeam whispers, to the alien deception stuff, to the great apostasy, to the ecumenical movement going on, to the Pope, to Islam, to Christianity, to the Gospel Coalition, to NAR, and all this great apostasy and unity, to the transhumanism, to the genetic manipulation of the thing that a lot of people took in their body that's reworking you at a protein mitochondrial level to actually alter your created image of God, and might give you some context to the space-based weapons platforms and the Space Force and to these other things, and might give you some context to the why, to the unrestrained sexual perversity and immorality and violence and hatred and love of many growing cold on the face of the earth. Might give you some context. The Lord said it's the end of the age. Like not like it's coming, like it is. It is the end of the age of grace. There's so many things already happening that are lending itself to it that have all happened in this last little window here. Israel become a nation, ring a bell? Jerusalem be ring? How about DNA being discovered in the 80s? And they can already make chimeras. They can already make you transient. They can already manipulate it. They can cut and paste CRISPR-Cas9. How about the internet? How about technology? How about hive mind? How about social credit scores? How about central bank digital currencies? How about counterfeit omniscience and omnipresence? It's all been done in the last 30 to 40 years, beloved. It's not happening in a vacuum. It's happening in real time. And that's why God warned, like it was in the days of Noah, like it was in the days of Lot. All y'all are going to be going about business as usual, completely unaware that this thing is building. And then, thunk, it happens. Then suddenly, in the instant, in the single day, in the single hour, it just happens. So somewhere in here, 2025, 2075, it all comes together, happens, gets rebuilt, gets reconciled, and is reestablished for Christ to rule and reign. That's a lot of stuff to happen. Everybody tracking? A lot of stuff. And the fearsome, woeful thing underlying it all is that it is the end of the age of grace. I don't know what that means, but it sounds horrifying. It sounds horrifying. As wicked and lawless and rebellious as man has always been, it is still somehow restrained and held together by grace. Everybody understand that? There's still, everything's always being held together by grace. There's some form of restraint. There's some form of justice. No matter how corrupted it may be, it is still enacted and used to restrain the sinful desires of man. That's why we have laws. Passions of men are to some degree restrained. The violence of men and governments are still somehow restrained. They act, but they're still restrained. Have you noticed that? There's always restraint. God always shows up. It always gets wrecked. It always gets destroyed. It always gets stopped because of grace. He's always being gracious to us, even to the unbelieving God haters. He's being extremely gracious to them. There is still some degree of love and compassion, our kindness, our unwillingness to lend a hand to help somebody else. The powers of darkness and the machinations of principalities and spiritual wickedness are bound and restrained by God's grace. His grace is still, it's holding it all together, right? There's things bound inside the earth by the grace of God. The earth and all of creation are confined to boundaries and orderly restraint by the grace of God. That's why I love reading the book of Job. He's like, I told the proud waves where to stop. You can come this far, but no further. See, that's by his grace. He tells the tectonic plates when they can slip and pop and do whatever they want to do. He tells the volcano at Pompeii, you erupt now to judge them, but none of the other ones erupt. By grace, creation is still restrained from going gnarly chaotic. Everybody tracking? His grace is still at work. The sun is not allowed to pump out CMEs. The stars and the moons are held in place by his grace. Everything is perfectly ordered by his grace. The magnetosphere, the jet stream, the hydrosphere, and the asteroids and the meteoroids, and all of them by amazing grace. Until it isn't. Until it isn't. The end of the age of grace. No more restraint on men. Restraint on...
Last, Trump signed the Noahide laws. He already signed it in his first term.
Sin, restraint on flesh, restraint on governments, restraint on the powers of darkness that are clamoring and seething, coming with you with great wrath because they know they have but a short time. Until it isn't. This is why this is so devastating, yet awesome at the same time. The end of the age of grace. Foreknown. You are foreknown to be a part of it. Until 2 Thessalonians 2, 7 through 11. I don't know if this is what the end of grace means, but it's right there in plain sight. For the secret power of lawlessness, the mystery of iniquity, is already at work, but the one who now holds it back will continue to do so until he is taken out of the way, until the restrainer, restrained by grace, goes, do your thing. Do your thing. My grace has come to an end. I will no longer restrain it. That does not mean grace unto salvation. That doesn't mean grace that when you cry out in repentance, he's not going to restore you and cleanse you and heal you from all unrighteousness. It's the grace of God over the earth and over humanity and over the governments and over our daily conduct. He's so good. That's why we talked about his mercy the other week, right? It says, and then, so when the restrainer is removed, and then the lawless one will be revealed. No law, no rule of law. This is what it means to have grace, the end of grace. There's no rule of law. Whom the Lord Jesus will overthrow with the breath of his mouth and destroy by the splendor of his coming. The coming of the lawless one, the removal of all law and restraint, will be in accordance with how Satan works. He will use all sorts of displays and power through signs and wonders that serve the lie. Remember I said, the Lord said, each deception will be unique to each man's proclivity. He's going to do things that's going to serve the lie that they already want to believe. And all the ways that wickedness deceives those who are perishing. They perish because they refuse to love the truth and so be saved. For this reason, God sends them a powerful delusion that they might believe the lie. And so that all will be condemned who did not believe the truth, but delighted in wickedness. Everything is good to go until it's not. Until the removal of the law, of the good, right restriction over the hearts of men and creation itself. We can only surmise what it's going to be like. I think it's literally hell on earth. But even then, still not to the same degree. Because God's grace still is at work for the forgiveness of sins. But not his grace over the restraint of men and flesh and the powers of darkness. I don't know what it'll look like. I think it'll be hell on earth. I've said that. It's total speculation. I have nothing to back this up. I'm like, what would hell be? Hell would be everybody doing exactly what they wanted to do. Hell would be humanity living on top of each other with no restraint on their flesh. That would be hell. You take, you eat, you devour, you destroy, you sexualize, you break, you rob, you murder, you kill, in perpetuity with no restraint. Because it's the removal of God. It's the removal of the presence of God. That means no love, no light, no rest, no goodness, no love, no kindness, no self-control, right? The removal of God, that's hell. I think that that's what we're going to see. Hell on earth is each.
Good night, Phil. Good luck, mate. God bless you.
Feeding his flesh to the max. The government's feeding their flesh to the max. The powers of darkness feeding their whatever they are, their spiritual wickedness to the max with zero restraint. That's what the scriptures say. I can only speculate as to what it's going to look like. Can't even conceive of it. But I do know this, because the scripture is very clear that whatever is coming with this end of the age, we will have no, none, zero context for what's going to unfold. The scriptures are very clear. You can't conceive of it. You can't fictionalize it. We can watch Hollywood movies all you want, and they won't even scratch the surface. Yet all we know is what the Lord has definitively declared. And though we can't truly understand the details until after the fact, we won't understand. We'll go, oh, that was gnarly. I had no clue that that's what he actually meant in that verse. Now I'm seeing it, and I can't even conceive of it. But I do know, even though we don't know what's going on with that, I do know that now is the time to repent. I know that is a certainty, right? I know that you can be found hiding, dwelling, and abiding in the shelter of the Most High through the amazing grace of God shown to you in Christ Jesus. I know that. I know that you can have the forgiveness of sins. I know that you can have the mark and seal of the loving God, and your name can be written in the Lamb's Book of Life. I know that. I do know that my God will give a command concerning you. His angels will come out, and he'll give a charge to them, a command for the commander-in-chief of the Lord of the Heaven's armies to guard you in all your ways, that you won't even strike your foot against a stone. I do know that about my God. I know for certain, I know that nobody whose hope is in him will ever be ashamed. I know that you have an inheritance that's being kept in heaven for you, spotless and unspoiled, unfading. It's in heaven. These machinations of the global elite and the powers of darkness, they can't touch it. He specifically, in great wisdom, put it in heaven so they can't jack with it, and neither can you, because of your own carnal failings and your wanderings. I know that. Oh, and I know that he's going to guard you home to that reward by his power. I know that he's going to make you stand in his presence, not cower and grovel at his feet. He's going to make you stand in his presence, blameless and with great joy. I know that. I know that there's literally nothing that can separate you from the love of God.
Shawnee, he did say most of the work will be done in the first part of the Jubilee. It'll be over way before 2075. So he does say that. Hello, mate.
I know these things. I know that neither height nor depth, nor angel or demon, nor light nor darkness, no nothing in all creation. Nothing. What is an angel? Created thing. What's a government? Created thing. What's a man to create? What are the little ores that they're using and matter that they're putting together to do these crazy, horrific, wicked things? Those are all created things. They're all created things by his voice. And he said, nothing in all of creation, nothing can separate you from the love of God that has been, past tense, made known to you in Christ Jesus. I know that much. I know that there's more than conquerors. I know that there's victors. I know that there's overcomers. I know there's those who do exploits, and they're strong because they know they're God. I know that there's going to be those who turn many back to righteousness, and they're going to shine like vast stars. I know that a lot of you are going to be beheaded for the testimony of Jesus Christ. But guess what I know about that? You get a special place for all eternity. And those are they who were beheaded for the testimony of Jesus Christ, and they will rule and reign with him for that final age. It says for 1,000 years. You will co-reign with your King Jesus, because you're not ashamed.
Oh, get up the foot! Oh, get up the foot, dog!
You did not shrink back when all the chips were laid down. I know that much. So I know a lot. I don't know it all. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know how you endure it. I don't know how you persevere it. I don't know what you do, but I know that his love will never fail. He says, unfailing love. I will never leave you nor forsake you. I will get you home, because it's by the completed work of my son. Oh, and by the way, if you suffer with my son, you'll also be glorified with him. You're going to be raised to glory. I know that death has lost its sting. Where you at, homie? Where you at, death? He's got nothing on you. I know that much. Do you guys know that much?
Yeah.
Do you know you're a God? See, I don't care that it's the end of the age. I do. I don't. There's unknowns. There's physiological fear responses, right, to hearing this kind of stuff. I don't know. That's okay. The Lord's tender and compassionate. He can take your fears. He can take your unknowns. He can take your woes. He can take your little bit of consternation. Just don't be undone by it, because you would be given public testimony that Jesus isn't who he said he was. You be given public testimony that his love is not true, and that his power is not sufficient, and that he is not good. Do not let it overwhelm you. Let his perfect love cast out all fear. Be perfected by it. Be perfected by his love, by studying the face of Jesus himself. I know that much. The Lord says in Matthew 20, I have all these verses, I won't read them. Matthew 24 and Revelation 16 and Daniel 12 and Joel 21 and Ezekiel 5 and Isaiah 24 and Luke 21. Never. It has never happened before. What's getting ready to happen. And it will never happen again. So you have no context. You can't go World War II. Oh, the Holodomor. Oh, the Battle of Stalingrad. Yeah, the Civil War. Oh, the Siege of Syracuse. I'm in picket time. Oh, the Tower of Babel. What about the days of Noah? Nope, nothing. You have no context for it. None. Zero context for it. Likes of which never has been, never will be again. Likes of which has never been seen. It will never, it's a one and done thing. And he goes, listen, it's so gnarly what's getting ready to happen that men's hearts will literally fail them for fear of what they see coming onto the earth. Remember what I said the Lord said? It will be all about sight. It'll be all about what your sensory organ of your eyes are pulling in. It will be all about what you see. And he said, so gnarly, people are going to drop dead from what they see. Have you ever heard of that? Have you ever heard of that? Because the army's laying siege to a city and people are starving to death and dropping dead in the streets, and hordes of people being lined up in front of the pre-dug pits and being mowed down by the Nazis. Did anybody drop dead from what they were seeing? No. So I have no clue what comes next. I just know he said, buckle up, buttercup. But know this, I will never leave you or forsake you. My literal presence is with you everywhere you go. And you have been marked, and you have been sealed, and your name has been written in the Lamb's Book of Life, and I'm going to profess your name before my heavenly host and before my Father. This is my son. This is my daughter. Oh, by the way, son or daughter, I have a new name for you. Here's a white stone. It's just between me and you. Nobody else gets to know. It's my pet name for you. Nobody else gets to know that name. It's so deeply intimate between just me and you that I'm going to give you a nickname.
Come on, Mike, give me a break.
I know that's what's coming for us. I know 1 Peter 5:10-11, that the God of all grace, who called you to his eternal glory, after you have suffered a little while, will himself. Did you hear that? Will himself restore you and make you strong and firm and steadfast. To him be the glory and power forever and ever. Amen. I'm certain, 1 Peter 1:3-9, that in his great mercy, he has given you a new birth into a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead and into an inheritance that is spotless, unfading, is going to be kept in heaven for you. And he's going to guard you by his power to it. I have been promised, Matthew 24:13, that the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. I'm certain of these things. I'm certain of Isaiah 28:5-6, that in the day of the Lord, it will be like a glorious crown to those whose names are written in the book of life. Not a shame, not a reproach, not a fear, not, oh God, clawing your eyes out of your face because of what you see. He says, no, for you, it will be a glorious crown, a beautiful wreath to the remnant of my people. He will be a spirit of justice to the one who sits in judgment, and a source of strength to all y'all who turn back the battle of the gates. I know that for sure. I know the Apostle Paul has reminded our hearts in 2 Timothy 4:8, now there is in store for me and for you a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day, not only to me, but also to all you who are longing for his appearing. It's a certainty. It's an immutable, immovable promise. Romans 8:16-17 makes this declaration, that the Spirit himself testifies with our spirit that we are children of God. I know this to be certain. And now if we are children, then we're heirs. And if we're heirs, we're co-heirs. If indeed we share in his suffering, in order that we may also share in his glory. We've been promised in Revelation 2:10, do not fear what you are about to suffer. It's so clear. I don't care what I don't know. I want to fixate on what I do know. I do know these things. Do not fear what you are about to suffer. Behold, the devil is about to cast some of you into prison. Whatever. Whatever, bro. Do your worst. So that you will be tested and you will have tribulation for 10 days, meaning that it's limited. It has an endpoint. Be faithful unto death, and you're going to get a crown of life. I'm certain that that's true. And here's what I'm also certain of. I know Revelation 2 and 3. You want to hear it?
Yes.
The one who is victorious, I will give the right to eat from the tree of life, which is in the paradise of my God. I know to the one who is victorious, they will not be hurt at all by the second death. I know that to those who are victorious, he will give some of the hidden manna, and he will also give that person a white stone with a new name written on it, known only to the one who receives it. To the one who is victorious and who does his will to the very end, he will give authority over nations, and they will rule them with an iron scepter, and they will dash them to pieces like pottery, just as he received authority from his Father. And he will also give them a morning star. I don't know what that is. I want a piece of that action. I know to the one who's victorious, he says, I will make them a pillar in the temple of my God, and never again will they have to leave it. You will never have to leave his presence. Never. And I will write on them the name of my God and the name of the city of my God, the new Jerusalem, which is coming down out of heaven from my God. And I will also write on them a new name. And I know that Jesus has declared, here I am. I stand at the door and knock. Whosoever. I love that word. Hears my voice and opens the door. I will come in and eat with that person, with you. It's a date. It's a very intimate date. I'll come in and eat with that person, and they with me. To the one who is victorious, I will give the right to sit with me on my throne, just as I was victorious and sat down with my Father on his throne. I do know this, beloved, and there's nothing that could shake me from understanding this. Nothing. This is a certainty. I know Psalm 91 and Psalm 27 and Psalm 112 and Psalm 2, and I know Revelation 19, and I know Revelation 20, and I know Revelation 21. I know the tomb is empty, and that is enough for me. The end of the age of grace? Yeah, okay. Wrap your head around that. I don't know anything about that, but I do know that the tomb is empty. And I'll tell you what, beloved, that is enough for me. The Lord is a shield in the day of disaster. He is a refuge. He is a strong tower. He is a deliverer. He is a redeemer. The Lord is a warrior, and the Lord is with you as a dread warrior. I know I will see the deliverance of the Lord, and one day soon, all my enemies and his enemies will be ashes under the soles of my feet. I do know that. And I know that I will sit in judgment over all the rebel insurgents of old. He has promised me that. I will sit and judge them.
Okay, I might switch to something else till Mike from Around the World comes on, guys.
Cue your trusty road tripmobile. Cue a castle to call your own. Cue your ride and joy. Cue your business empire. Now cue the insurance they deserve. QBE Insurance.
The Snooze Super Summer Sale is on now. Save up to 40% off selected bed frames. Plus,
and then in one, man, I have some interesting clips to show you in this video, my friends. This is Tony. Hope you're all doing well. Definitely some strange things happening, my friends. Yes, indeed. We have now some new stuff happening. We got like 3 or 4 major things, okay? We got this very bizarre fog happening in places that it usually doesn't happen, and it's not normal fog. And And then in one example, there's actually some creatures seen in the fog. Okay, we'll get into that. We're going to get into something strange happening above New Jersey. Another, and this isn't an orb. This isn't a drone. This is some, I don't know what this is. I'm going to show you that one probably first. It is weird. I don't know what to make of it. Okay, so we got more stuff going on like that. We got 3 days of 3 different planes crashing, a 4th one almost crashing with some professional basketball players on it. I don't know what's going on, man. This is getting weird. All right. We got an invisible man tearing down trees in some dude's backyard. We'll get into that as well. Like I said, we got a lot of stuff. So let's just start with this one. This one's really bizarre. Again, this is New Jersey. I don't know what's up with New Jersey. What's going on there, man? But this is getting crazy. Every time it's something different. This time, I don't know what this is. You can tell me what you think. Does that look normal to you? Does that look normal? Does that look like the sun? I don't think the sun spins around. I don't think the moon spins around. I don't think lightning does that. Does that look like lightning to you? Spinning around? Like, what is that? It's literally rotating. What is that, dude? Seriously? That is not normal. What is going on in this state, in this city? My goodness. And this was from December 16th. I didn't even, this apparently didn't go even viral at all for, oh no, it was put up on the 24th. So it was recorded on the 16th, put up on the 24th, and it didn't go anywhere until recently, apparently. This is how, that's the thing about Twitter. You can put up a really good post and it doesn't go anywhere if you're not a big channel sometimes. It's really ridiculous. But we got other bizarre stuff. Check out this. This is what is all this? Okay, let me just make sure it doesn't have an ad. Let me hit refresh. I don't want it to play an ad while we're doing this. All right. Okay, no ad. All right, let's play this. What is all this? Just tell me. This is like some more strangeness seen there. What is all this?
What?
Oh no, my. What is all this, man? What? I saw this one on Twitter as well, on X. You remember that show? What was it called? Knight Rider? You remember the car Knight Rider, and it had the light in the front and it went,
Hey, kid.
woo. You remember that? That's literally what this apparent UFO is doing. It literally has a light, and he doesn't even show it really in this video, but I've seen it on other videos. It literally just goes back and forth, just like Kit. I'm like, bro, seriously? What's going on here, man? So you got all these strange clips coming out of New Jersey now. I got a very bizarre clip here, my friends. Check this one out. Unbelievable. See this? This is supposed to be above Switzerland, where the Hadron Collider is. You can see, and actually what's really interesting about it, I saw a comment saying that they were testing clouds. Here, let me see here.
Yeah, that really looks
On
like
December
clouds.
4th, they were testing for plasma cloud formations. So I'm curious if this is related to that. And you got Harvard astronomers chiming in on this now, trying to give their 2 cents worth. And I understand their perspective on it, because I've kind of been going 2 different directions with it. I've been saying it could be China. I've been saying it could be some weird stuff, with our GOV, just trying something. One of the two, right? I was thinking that the China one's actually legitimate potential of what's going on. Okay. Because, and I don't want to go through it all here, but I went through like 10 stories showing it all. Like, there was even a guy that got arrested, a Chinese guy got arrested for flying a drone over a military base like 2 weeks ago. So there's also farmland
It's glaring, guys.
owned by Chinese around a lot of these bases, and there's also these secret police stations that were discovered from them as well here in America. You also had the balloons from like a year or 2 ago that went across America. So it very easily could be China, and that's what this Harvard professor guy is saying here. Let me just play a little bit of this.
2023, I think it's a priority to figure out what these things are. And I'm leading the Galileo project at Harvard University. We built one observatory that monitors the sky 24/7.
Come on, man.
And we just
I'm all
released a
day.
Bro, he doesn't. What is he blinking his eyes all the time?
paper that discusses the first 500,000 objects that we found in the sky, some of which
500,000, only 500,000? Just 500,000 strange objects in the sky? I guess that's completely normal, of course, right? Completely normal to have 500,000 objects in the sky that we don't know what it is.
we couldn't identify.
I know.
What? 500,000 you couldn't identify? That sounds like a lot. 500,000. Like, seriously, bro? 500,000? Yeah, that sounds like a lot to me. I showed this clip, I think. I don't know if I showed it on this channel.
on.
This is in Norway.
It's just sad.
Apparently, a jet chasing one of these things. Check this out.
Oh, you shouldn't have started. What
Look at a jet for
That's apparently the, whatever it is, unidentified aircraft. The round one. Making no noise, by the way. The jet looks like it's kind of slow. Can't keep up with it, you know. Can't keep up with that circular object for some reason. I don't know, man. This is some crazy stuff. So we got a lot of other things, by the way. We got a guy, a Chinese dude on a plane freaking out. I don't know if I covered it on this channel. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. I can't remember. This flight that mysteriously disappeared. He references it in his unhinged whatever that happens. We're going to get into a lot of other stuff as well. Invisible people, invisible things, creatures breaking things, just really strange stuff. So let's just do the planes first, because this is kind of interesting. This guy, this Chinese dude, this is on a Chinese flight, by the way. And it's interesting because, again, here comes China. So we keep hearing China. Chinese airplane, a Chinese guy getting arrested. Maybe there is something going on here with China. Maybe it is them. I don't know. I'm sure they got some interesting tech as well that they haven't told us about, just like RGOV has, right? So they're speaking Chinese, so I'm going to just tell you what it says. What are they doing? What happened? Someone tried to open the door on the plane while it's in mid-flight. That's the guy screaming. That's the guy trying to open the door. He says they are hollow, Earth inhabitants. This is what he's saying. He's saying this, okay? So, okay, that's kind of interesting. Is he talking about people on the plane, or is he talking about those that are doing the drones and stuff? I don't know. He's saying that. This time is the sixth loop. Apparently, he believes he's in a time loop, or he's lived the same day over and over for 6 times now. Please open the door for me. Okay. Probably not a good idea mid-flight, but okay. Let's see what else happens. Excuse me, sorry. Why are you so afraid? Police is here. Why are you afraid? So many people here also. Man screaming, the accident is going to happen. Urgently call your family. The same disaster will happen as Malaysia airline, MH370. And of course, this clip over here is allegedly a satellite video of what happened to that flight. It could be completely fake. I don't know. But as you can see here, it flies down. Allegedly, some orbs or something start bouncing off it or something. It's really strange. Then this happens. It keeps going. Oh, yeah, it goes a little bit farther. This is where it supposedly disappears, I guess. Some sort of oscillation thing. You saw that. And then it supposedly disappeared. This is, who knows if that's real or not. But that's what, the guy was saying what's happening. We're going to have the same thing happen to us. But what's really interesting about it is he talks about plane problems and plane disasters, what do you want to call it, right? This happened just before the last 3 days. In the last 3 days, we've had 3 different planes crash. Did this guy predict that? He said he's been in the 6th time loop. Has he been in like a multi-day time loop where he's like living 3 days and then he relives the 3 days over and over and he sees these crashes?
Oh, come on, Diesel. You have to
I don't know,
shut the
man.
door
That's
shut.
kind of strange. Isn't that a little weird? It gives me that he's not real vibe. Remember this lady? He's not real vibe, right? So what's interesting, of course, is there were 3 crashes in the last 3 days. Shortly, basically after that guy put that out, the guy that we went, lost it on the plane. We had the Kazakh crash. This one I think is the Korean one, South Korea.
The monster.
I can't remember the other one. One's Kazakhstan, one's South Korea.
Shall I lift him up on the bed?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the other one is.
That's not me, guys. That's my cousin's dog. You won't fit in here because you're up here too.
Maybe a European country. I can't tell. But at any rate, the worst one was the South Korean, I think. I think maybe not. This one looks pretty bad too. That one looks pretty bad. South Korean looked pretty bad too. The South Korean one, that's what ended up happening. So it ran into something. It just ran into something huge. And it was just, essentially trying to land 181 people on board in that crash. And that was at 8:19 p.m. So, at any rate, there was another one today that almost crashed. It had a professional basketball player team on it. This guy's team showed his right there. I think it showed his face. Did it show it? Oh, yeah, it's down here. Here we go. That guy. So, what happened was it was taking off, and this plane over here almost taxied onto the track where they were taking off. So I mean, it was close call, but it wasn't a crash, of course. But just very strange that this seems to happen a lot. Of recent, we see numerous strangeness with the planes. And at any rate, we're going to get into some other stuff. We have some invisible creature tearing down an entire tree. I'm going to show you part of that. And we're talking, this is not human strength. This is not even, I don't even think a gorilla could do this. I don't think a bear could do this. I don't think a gorilla could do this. Obviously, a human can't do this. We're talking a tree this thick around. It tore down, apparently. And it tore branches, a huge branch off about that big, took down half the tree. And then apparently the guy said it. You saw half the tree. You'll see half the tree being taken down on video. He claimed that the entire tree got taken down.
Developing.
After
this is actually affecting multiple people across.
I don't know why that started playing. So I'm going to show you that as well. Very strange. Whatever it is, extremely strong. I'm thinking like a 10-foot tall, gigantic gorilla could maybe do this. I don't know if such a thing existed. But before we get into that, first I'm going to mention food supply, 25-year shelf life. Link is in the description. 3 months worth for $5.97. Link is in the description. Hopefully they fixed the link. Click below to check that out. Also, this book here, The Lost Ways, How Your Great-Great-Grandfather Lived Without Electricity, How to Build a Cellar, Do Things Around the House like they did in the good old days, hundreds of pages illustrated. We don't know what's happening next, my friends. Some are saying, some of those that predicted all these, of course, drones and orbs, were saying that they're going to start, trying to take out things next, like buildings and like this. I don't know if any of that's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen next. We have all this strangeness happening. So it's wise to be prepared. I had a dream about this part of the year, and I was in a city, and a lot of the power went out in the city. So I don't know if that was symbolic.
Thanks, Di.
I get the impression.
I'll jump in early so I can hear you sing.
Anyway, it's wise to be prepared. Link is in the description. Get a printed version of this, $37 for shipping. Get it before something happens. You won't be able to buy this at Walmart at any rate. So also Gold and Silver's link below. Go check that out. Also my website, Jared Videos, is linked below. Go check that out as well. Lots of awesome videos over there. $4.95 a month. First month is free. Tons of videos into strange topics like this. Anyway, let's get back to the video. So we have here, let's get into the guy who found some strange thing in his backyard. You can't actually see what's doing this. So he went to fish near an apartment at the lake at around 11 p.m. and he started hearing these trees being taken down. All right, and he has a big flashlight. He's like looking up there trying to see what's doing it.
Limbs off and throwing them at me, and I still cannot figure out what it is. Look, there.
That's nothing. Okay, well, let me show you when it gets crazy. Like takes down half the tree. Let me show you that. Here we go. This is right around when it starts happening. Check this out.
Look, that's big as me. Look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. What in Jesus' name is doing this? Oh my God, he just took half the tree down. Something, oh my God, oh my God.
Wow.
Does that look normal? Apparently, he says 30 seconds after he stopped recording, he heard the entire tree pop so loud and then fall. Like, really? You saw how it was shaking.
And how strong is this thing that can snap trees in half? That's crazy.
And we do have some pictures of what might be doing this. I'm actually thinking there's two of them. I think there's something down below doing it and is very strong and is shaking these trees. And there's something also in the trees. Okay, and we actually have a couple spots where you can see this. So at the bottom right at 254, you can see a set of eyes glowing. And it makes sense there would be one on the ground. So apparently, let me see if I can get that one in the right spot real quick. I can show you this. Yeah, here we are. So you can see here the eyes glowing, something standing down below. And again, he's on a deck that's elevated. So this thing is very tall. Whatever this is tall. Because this deck is up above the ground, and this thing's almost eye level, whatever this thing is. You can't really see it in the footage too fast. It's very quickly. You see that? There it is walking. Whatever it is. It seems to have some heftiness to it the way it was walking there. But the thing is, though, there's another clip where you can see something moving in the trees, and it's pretty fast. So it's kind of strange, man. Let's see if I can show you this. This is from this section here is from Jamez's channel because he zoomed in on it, and you can kind of see it a little bit better. James LaFleur from That Is Impossible. He has a channel called Jamez as well. Check this out.
I'll figure out what it is.
Over here.
Oh
Oh my
my
gosh,
God.
you saw it.
From that name,
Not your pet robot.
and I still cannot figure out what it is.
Over.
So you can see something moving across here behind the trees, the leaves.
Oh.
It's hard. It's really pretty fast, actually. I was playing that at slower speed. What speed was I playing that at? I was playing it at half speed. And you could see it was still very fast, whatever it was. And it was moving across here. And I actually did find another section, and I can't find it now. It's really annoying, but I actually found a section where you could see it also like a little bit better. I wish I would have recorded it when I saw it, because I lost where it was in the video, because it's kind of hard to find this stuff in the video because it's really hard to see. And I didn't want to spend another hour trying to find it. I spent like 30 minutes trying to find it, and I was like, I can't find it. But I did actually find one spot that looked strange right here. And you could see something in between the trees at one set for like a millisecond there.
Yeah.
And there was another spot where, when they tore down like a massive branch, he had the lights off and then he tore down a branch. There was somewhere in here I saw something. I just can't find it now. It's so annoying. What was it? I thought I saw something. I thought I saw something move across the screen on the bottom. Is there something here? Let's see here. It looks like there's something here a little bit. Yeah, dude, there's a thing right here. That's what it was. I knew I saw something. I couldn't believe I couldn't find it before. Yeah. See that? Did you see that thing right there? It was like a white thing. And it was like out a little bit and then it went back in. I knew I saw something. Yeah. I just couldn't remember exactly how it was. I was thinking it moved across the screen, but actually what it was is it showed for a little bit and then it hid itself. That's what it was. So very strange. Of course, a lot of people thought this video I'm showing you right now was from this year because it went viral this year. But in reality, and then they were all speculating what this could be. And there was this there's this lab that had monkeys that escaped this year in South Carolina. But it wasn't them. For one, they were young. Okay, a young monkey is not going to tear a tree down. Okay, it's just not happening. On top of that, it's the wrong year. So apparently, this video actually originally came out in 2022. I can show you this. This is the original video from May of 2022 in South Carolina. And he says here the entire tree pops out and then it fell. So whatever it is, it's extremely strong. I think it's actually two things. I don't think it's one. I think it's two. Maybe there's one down below and then there's one above, breaking things off. But you can't, it's really hard to find a spot where you see something. So some are saying it's like a predator from the movie Predator, you know, like with Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. I don't know. It could be, but I actually see something in a couple spots, so I don't think that's the case. Whatever it is, it's something that's trying to hide while it's doing this. It's probably more likely.
Your mum's
what
on
it
there,
is.
go on. Your mum's on.
At any rate, of course, there's this other clips. Now, this is the third thing. This is the fog. So there's this very strange fog happening in numerous places around America. And there's also people getting some very strange videos of this as well.
Your mum's on.
So
Go
let me just show you this
your
first.
mum.
First, apparently there's numerous people reporting fog, strange fog, in their area. People all over America are experiencing heavy fog. Everyone is wondering, what are the odds this happens right when they don't want people looking up at the sky? Of course, you know, drones and all that kind of stuff. Orbs. Los Angeles, middle of the day. Oklahoma, 12 noon. Can't see anything. Massachusetts, Missouri, other states, fog smells different. Burns your eyes. Wisconsin, 3:30 in the afternoon. You can't see anything. And also Minnesota. And it was apparently 4 days.
Starting from the east.
Apparently 4 days worth. And actually, I'm going to show you a really weird video of someone in the fog and he sees something.
Is she in the room?
Fog.
She was on
Here
the
in
land.
Minnesota,
Not this
and
one.
Wisconsin, for the last 4 days has just been incredible. In fact, this is probably the least fog we've had. It's 3:30
She might be in the
in the
shower.
afternoon, and all of Minneapolis just has this deep, foggy.
So that's Minneapolis. And here's this one's.
And what people.
This one right here is kind of funny because he's like reading about these posts online. He's like, oh yeah, whatever, dude, fog, whoa, whatever. And then he goes outside and he has the same weird fog. He's actually not believing it. And then he goes outside and he has it himself, like a very strange fog. So it's kind of funny.
Or posting and coming forward.
It keeps playing, auto-playing is so annoying. All right, so then we have this video here. This guy, he's out. This is in Minnesota. No, not Minnesota. This is Wisconsin, Wausau, Wisconsin. And he's walking his dog, and he sees something. He's talking about how thick the fog is and how it's just like really thick. Check this out.
This is no editing, no nothing. My dog and I come out here every night for a walk. And I had this insane spotlight. What the hell is that?
He also sees something in the distance. I'll show it up close in a second here.
Now get over here right now. Hey. Straight. All right, folks. So here we are, straight from the TikTok app. This is no editing, no nothing.
So this fog is very thick, as you can see there. It's like a very thick fog. He sees something in the distance a little bit, and then he gets a little scared, I guess you'd say. You can see here its eyes. I tried to zoom in on it. It's hard to get because it's so far away. This one you can kind of make out the structure, whatever it is. You got the arms and legs or something. Of something he was seeing. And this one is actually two eyes, but it's hard to see on screen. I can't zoom it in really easily more than that, I don't think. Not really. So whatever he saw, I don't know what it was, but it is kind of strange though. So you have a lot of this weird fog going on as well right now. At any rate, so you can see there's a lot of strange things going on of recent. I didn't even get into the drones and orbs at all. Matter of fact, we did have a Harvard
All the
astronomer.
information available.
We had a Harvard astronomer come out about this whole thing with the drones, and saying he thinks it could be something like China, which I find to be very interesting because that was one of my theories as well. I was thinking it was either one or two things. It could be China or it could be something we're doing, RGOV, one of the two. But there's a lot of stories that kind of back up the whole China thing. So you had a guy get arrested flying a drone over a base that was from China. That was a Chinese guy. You have farmland, Chinese owning farmland all around these bases. You got these secret police stations. You got China putting out a troll on Americans saying, you guys are all freaking out over drones. Why are they the only country making sort of fun of us over it? That's a little strange. Then you have, of course, them deploying stuff into space. And they recently did some other stuff as well with the Ruslans. Space, of course, technology to take, out our satellites. So it's almost like there's something going on with them as well. I don't know. This Harvard guy's saying basically the same thing.
But it implies that these mysterious drones fly like human-made drones, and others appear to be airplanes or helicopters. It's standard practice for the U.S. military to notify law enforcement authorities of any plans to fly drones over residential areas, and therefore these unidentified drones must have originated from civilians or an adversarial nation. The Sky 24/7. We just released a paper that discusses the first 500,000 objects that we found in the sky, some of which we couldn't identify.
That's so crazy. They have 500,000 things that they found in the sky they couldn't identify. 500,000. 500,000. That's not like a couple UFO videos. That's half a million. Are you kidding me? Seriously, this is a Harvard professor putting this out. So there's definitely some weird stuff going on, my friends. And
okay, guys, I'll switch over to Paul Begley. If we're lucky, me and Diane might catch his last verse.
Heavily, that there is multiple ways. They're trying to say there's multiple ways to find peace, to find nirvana. There's ways to find travel into the light and all of that. What people need to know is that the only real peace comes through Jesus Christ. And when you give your life to Christ, when you get him in your heart, you become a new creature in Christ Jesus. The old things pass away and all things become new. And so salvation is of the Lord. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, we did receive an email from Mike around the world earlier today, this morning, that he has been under the most pressure in the last 48 hours or longer with of course the terrorist activity and the situations across America right now and the world really. And he is I'm not going to read his email to us because there's some of that I know is not we don't want to share, but he is literally probably been working around the clock the last 48 hours maybe or longer. And so here we are with all the New Orleans attack, the Las Vegas situation, but we got waiting on the New York shooting on the outside of the nightclub, the I-85 trucker with the bombs in there, and countless. One of our insiders told us there's at least 25 different terrorist threats or security threats, maybe is the better word, because it isn't all just coming from one group of people. We're going to see what Mike can tell us about this. What can he tell us about this? To me, it looks like the New Orleans guy was radical Islamic, and it looked like the Las Vegas guy was MK Ultra. I don't know if they're, but is all this just one? Is these sleeper cells taking different identities now? And just who is the enemy right now? Who is the enemy? Is it foreign and domestic? Is this all because of the border? Who's just, what are we dealing with? And so we hope to find out from Mike Around the World tonight some of the answers. We're going to be asking him for. Hopefully, he can be as frank with us as possible. Of course, he's not going to share everything, but MK Ultra was a secret CIA operation that trained and turned young men into assassins, or to carry out anything that needed to be done. For many years, that was everybody that talked about it was considered as conspiracy theorists. But now, finally, the CIA and the government has finally admitted this was an actual operation. You know, I believe it's still, and they say, but it's been disregarded. It's discarded. They're no longer doing it anymore. But to me, I see the same tactics being used that was trained in that whole thing. It's just like the KGB in Russia. They say the KGB no longer operates anymore, but the same tactics, the poisoning of people and the assassinations and the beatings and the false imprisonment and putting your political prisoners. I mean, to me, it's KGB is still in operation. I mean, it's just crazy to say it's not. When the same tactics are being used, and we're seeing this around the world. But what can Mike share with us tonight? We want to talk to him about all this attacks, but we also want to talk about all this crazy weather, this fog. A lot of people, and these tornadoes. For 2 weekends in a row, we're going to have the exact same pattern of tornadoes in the exact same locations, with the epicenter being Jackson, Mississippi. I mean, this is really strange stuff. And the sun, of course, is exploding. The solar flares are like crazy, causing massive geomagnetic storms. I mean, Puerto Rico lost all power, the entire island the other day. Oh, and then what about China? They're threatening. Even President Xi, guys, I didn't even tell you about that, but President Xi gave his New Year's Eve address in which he said nothing, no one, and I mean no one, will stop us from the reunification of Taiwan to China.
Wow.
And he's circling that island with ships and planes and rockets flying over. I mean, look, he is sending a clear message that this is what they're going to do. And so it's very dangerous right now. What I'm seeing going on is a world that is, well, just like the title of this broadcast tonight, 2025 starts out dangerous. And it really has on so many levels, like dangerous rogue waves, crashing into Peru, crashing into Chile, crashing into Ecuador, killing people, destroying boats and all kinds of things. I mean, it's really strange what's going on here. And so I'm just so glad that we're prayed up. I'm glad that we had this broadcast, that we as this amazing online church can come together every Thursday night and every Sunday night. We can come together. We can talk about these current events. I'm going to update you throughout the day, every day, with information. I'm doing now more and more, almost every day. It depends on the situation. When it's breaking news or when it's an inside story, I'll put it over at Patreon if it's something I can't talk about here. Okay? So all this information is flowing right now. And we've got to keep everyone informed. The Bible says, I set you a watchman on the wall. And you see the sword coming and fail to warn my people. The Lord said, I'll require their blood on your hands. And by the way, I want you to know that so many churches are coming under attack. It's one of my 25 points, of apocalyptic points to watch for. But many churches are coming under major attacks, slanderous attacks. AI is being used to create all kinds of weird things. They're doing it to political people, and they're doing it to pastors and ministers. And it's just this weird attack going on. I see it going on. And they do it to Trump every other day, or every 15 times a day, or his family, or his wife, or his son, or whatever. But they're also the same. You see this AI generated video, take pictures, and they manipulate the pictures. You don't know which ones are real, which ones are not. Deep fakes everywhere. Joining us, the man with all the answers from somewhere around the world. It's Mike from around the world. Mike, how you doing tonight?
Pastor Paul, God bless you. It's a busy night.
I would say
very busy and interesting and strange.
yeah, Heidi and I got your email this morning, and we read it, and that was the most distressful or stressful email I think you've ever sent in all these years.
That's a bad situation.
Just so where do you want? I mean, look. There's a couple things here. We know we got all these attacks going on, or these threats, and we want you to talk about that. And we got the crazy weather with the fog and the rogue waves. So let's start with the New Orleans and the Las Vegas. What's going on, Mike?
Well, that New Orleans gentleman, right?
Yep.
Clearly, he was radicalized. Right. This guy was he was actually it is found that he has connections with ISIS and some other Middle Eastern parties. So he is absolutely radicalized against USA. The problem is there are, I'd say, millions of that same guy right here in this country.
Right?
Millions. Not hundreds of thousands, but millions. When you start going down the Islamic population within the USA, then you begin to think about how many have discussed the distresses of their homeland, right?
Yeah.
Then you find out by conversation through deep analytics, whatever method a person uses, how many would just love to see the USA gone out of the Middle East. You find, I believe the number's a little north of 1.5 million who are ready to do something, but they can't exactly openly say that. So yeah, this guy's one of them right here in this country. Yeah.
Okay.
So we have issues here in this country, and that's just some of the more moderate people who are potentially operatives for, their interests in the Middle East to operate here in America by way of terroristic acts.
So, Mike, are these okay? So you're saying there's sleeper cells, but this is different. You're saying that there's people are being radicalized. Even this man was in the military. He was in the military.
This is in addition to the sleeper cells.
Okay.
Now just imagine that. We have an issue that's only going to be, it's going to take a severe sweeping act. It's not going to be done by politics alone. That will never take place.
No.
To find, locate, either de-escalate, or we're going to have to do something because there are too many people within the USA who hate the USA.
They're not going to assimilate. We've seen this also during the Arab Spring when all the different nations were disrupted, leaders were taken out, and millions of migrants migrated into Europe. They never did assimilate. Like, as you know, Belgium, France, Germany, London, England, they never assimilated at all. It's been chaotic there too.
Yeah. It's very, very dangerous too, because when you have people within a country that do not wish to adopt the culture of that country, right?
Yep.
You have a Hitler situation. You have a door opening where a person just like Hitler could come in with the same speech. I can almost guarantee you it may in the future, if we're not careful, if we drop the ball this time, it's going to become, we're going to have a Hitler situation right here in the USA. And the civilians are going to have to, kind of get up and force some things out. I believe our system of leadership is going to be forced to change.
So when you say a Hitler, are you meaning someone who will rise up among the people?
Yeah, just like Hitler, because think about that. Hitler appealed to the general heartstrings of his time, right? First, Hitler wanted to free his people. So anytime a people are oppressed in their own nation, they feel like they're put on the back burner. That's when you have to be careful. They had to be careful going forward, because you may have voices that begin to come forward to speak on behalf of those individuals. But these may be murderous individuals by heart, and they all have the same trademark. It's all the same Antichrist spirit.
Right.
They hate the Jews. They will never, no Antichrist spirit will ever speak for the Jews. Not ever.
Ever.
It doesn't matter what people think about the Jews. Every single Antichrist spirited person that has ever lived hated the Jews.
That's true.
And they spoke openly
That's a
about
good
their
point.
hate. We have people that maybe, they may be stern in certain areas, but any Antichrist spirit is going to hate the Jews. Historically, it's been that way.
You're right.
Biblically, it's been that way. And they spoke openly about that hatred. So it's almost very easy to identify. No one has to guess. But and we don't actually have that in position yet. Not yet. But they hated the Jews. They also, when they get people together, they instantly start forcing everybody else out. And this is where the problem comes in. Satan will always use avenues of freedom to oppress. He'll always do that. He'll always take these policies of freedom and turn them on their head. He perverts everything he touches. He does that on purpose. And we have, of course, our Bill of Rights for freedoms. We have the Constitution.
Right.
We have a lot of mechanisms in place to lock freedoms in, but Satan desires to pervert the majority of them. And he will utilize, if we're not careful, he'll utilize this opportunity to cause those freedoms to be turned inside out. Through, for example, if we have too many terrorist operations within the USA, how are you going to get rid of all those who are sympathetic to ISIS type, ways of life? How do you get rid of those people? Well, you can't, realistically, you cannot go house by house and get people out. But I can almost guarantee you in certain states that will happen. So people might want to get ready.
So do you think during the deportation agenda of the illegals, especially the dangerous illegals at first, those who have committed crimes, those who are actually part of gangs, or those that we have identified already as being dangerous. But in this process, how do you feel? And the American people voted for this. They said, yes, we have to do this. We have to clean the system. We have to shut down the border. But how is the rest of the world going to perceive Trump and America during this process?
Well, is it necessary? Yes. For the most extreme criminals, right? But here's the issue. A criminal is somebody who's been caught, right?
Right.
How many more have not been caught? And it's hard to tell who's going to do what.
Right.
The sweeping action of going, getting those people they know that are on a list, they need to explain to the people, hey, these folks have already been isolated. These folks have already been identified. These folks are dangerous. If they told that to the people, it'd be different. But if they go and have the perception of profiling, something like that,
right.
No country will accept that.
No, even though the reasoning for it is to protect our
That's
longevity
right.
of our
That's right.
Constitution and the
That's right.
betterment, it's still not going to be accepted. It's going to be
Because-
criticized.
That's right. What will happen is if they go forward in the wrong way. But here's my prediction on that.
Okay.
Here's my prediction. Trump, I know for a fact he wants to get the dangerous people out of here.
Right.
I know that. Because he's got a lot of close people who are, of a different ethnic type, and they too will fit the profile of someone who needs to be, extradited to another country. But he's after those criminals, those people. He understands has an affiliation with some of these. The car word. I'm not going to say the full word. That causes too much attention, but. When you have an affiliation with dangerous people in Mexico and other places, he already knows who they are. He wants those people gone because he knows exactly what they can do and what they have done. The problem is that people they won't perceive it the way it actually is. And they will say, well, they're going to have an argument, the Democrats will, and so will other countries. They're going to say, if any country gets away with doing this to the criminals, who's to say they won't stop with other races? Then we're going to have a problem. And if he does this, if he actually succeeds, take note, that's going to be law, right? It's going to be written into the laws that you're able to do this. And if you get some corrupt individual to take that seat in the presidency, that person, by the law, can then do the same thing to anybody he deems dangerous.
Right.
That's the same thing Hitler did. So you got to be careful going forward not to open up, the Hitler years again, because it'll happen. So when they're going to have to be careful going forward, they're going to be stopped on many different fronts. Everybody, because Obama did the same thing, you know that, don't you?
Yeah, I know he did.
Obama did the exact same thing. He went through and he snatched people. He approved it to get those people out of the country. Right?
Yes.
He did the exact same thing. People need to know that because they don't know that. Trump just wants to do that. He's going to do that same thing, right?
Yep.
But what he's not going to do, because the Obamas did separate parents from children.
Yeah, they did.
They did. Right? They just, it was like a.
They did it kind of stealthily, but they did deport over 5 million people in his 8 years as president.
Yeah,
more than anybody.
When they tallied the numbers, Pastor Paul, it was more than 5 million.
Probably was.
Yep. It was much more. So anyway, those things that they have to explain that to the people.
Yep.
And really lay that out. They've got to spend some time to make sure people understand that. And to get these, because I'll tell you, we have a dangerous situation right now. One thing Pastor Paul will say about how important that is to get these evil people out.
Okay.
But what the catch-22 will be. You have bad folks, these gangs, right?
Yeah.
That are manufacturing fentanyl.
Yes.
There is a declarative action that will go active against the USA. Here's one element of that action. Fentanyl. 2 grains, not 2 grams, 2 grains of fentanyl has been made with a potency that would kill a dozen people, more than a dozen.
2 grains,
2
not
grains.
2 grams.
That's not 2 grams, 2 grains. That means if you touch it, if anybody touches it, they're going to die.
They're going to kill them.
They're going to die. Now, here's the bad part. You do realize that America has essentially been infiltrated by loyalists and by operatives and by all categories of people who utilize fentanyl. You do realize that these gangs have power over these people. And there have been people lately dying from touching cereal boxes in stores or, different things. Can you imagine how terrible that would be if you woke up one morning and you saw that 700,000 people have died simply by going to a set of grocery stores or going to a fast food restaurant, right? Something as simple as that. You touch it, you're gone, right? You touch money that has a little bit on there, you're dead. Even a 1/100th of a grain can kill a person about an hour.
So
if you take a 1/100th of a piece of a grain, right, that can kill a person in an hour.
So you're saying, Mike, that the new fentanyl that's coming in now is strategically being
specifically manufactured
to kill. This
Yes.
is to kill as
Yes.
many Americans
Yes.
as possible.
Yes.
That's
You're talking
crazy.
hundreds of millions of dollars worth.
Now,
of
China's
fentanyl.
got to be behind this as part of this. I'm not going to put it all on it, I mean, this is where the chemicals that make the fentanyl comes from, for the most part. It may be manufactured in Mexico, but the components, a lot of it comes from China. I mean, am I right?
Yep.
They have, they supply specific components, yes, right?
Yep.
But the process Pastor Paul, to concentrate something like that, right?
Yeah.
Originated in Panama.
Ah.
Panama is a big topic right now. Remember,
Is that
you know,
why
a lot of
Trump
people,
wants it
a lot of
back?
people don't know that Panama is drug central. You know, and when they had Operation Just Cause,
yeah,
there were a lot of us old folks in the water those days, and yeah, it was a bad place.
So, Mike, you know, Trump is saying he wants to take Panama Canal back and he wants to buy Greenland. What's he really trying to do? Is expand the borders to protect our nation?
Yeah, he understands that these places they're crucial for the security of the USA.
Yep.
He understands that. But you can't outright explain that to people because history has been lost. You know, for example, you start saying Operation Just Cause. People can look that up, but they have no context for it. They don't know what that fight was about. And here we are again. The same thing happening, and the stakes are very high. By the way, Pastor, those in Mexico, they have access to Gen 6 fighters. You know that, right?
No, but that's new information for me. But you can go there if you want to. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, let's go ahead, because they have access to Gen 6 fighters. Okay. They have access to Generation 5 battleships. They have access to things comparable to an Abrams tank. Some of the new firing systems. They have access to air defense artillery. They have access to anything a modern day army would have access to. So what has happened, and maybe somebody will expand on this, is those ragtag groups are not ragtag groups. They're not. They are sophisticated. One of the hacks in the USA, I'm going to say allegedly, they were behind it. They compromised the cellular phone system that day.
Wow.
They compromised bank access that day. They are deeply embedded, and they've declared war on the USA.
Yeah, the war is.
It's not a joke, because you're talking about, I think at present count, you're looking at 1.2 million troops, their troops. You're looking at it is not the story. Somebody needs to open up this story, because Texas, that puts Texas right in crosshairs. That puts every single politician that would work in that vicinity and to Washington, D.C. in the crosshairs. There are too many declarations that all the politicians in this current administration are going to pay with their lives.
Are you serious? So
Yes.
Mike, you're saying that the cartels in Mexico have the capability to have airplanes, fighter jets, rockets, precision equipment, and are funded well enough, they could pay their fighters well enough. They have an army. You're saying they could go to war, literally, with the United States of America.
For the last few years, they have been training people. They have the equipment. They've been training people. They've been in cahoots with other governments. It's not the story that people think it is. It is not. And certain people have, they have the inside track on this.
Right.
And some of the arguments are ridiculous, but Pastor, it's a real problem, because now the declarations are made and they're not being withdrawn. So you're looking at essentially the sons of captured drug lords are now running these other cartels.
Yes. So the Chapos and these people. Let me ask you a question. Maybe this kind of goes with it. This guy from Colorado Springs, Matthew Livesberger, 37 years old, a Green Beret, special ops, was deployed in multiple countries on behalf of the United States in special operations, was highly decorated with Bronze Stars and Medals of Valor. Why in the world would he all of a sudden rent a Tesla Cybertruck, fill it with all kinds of explosives, and park it in the front door of a Trump hotel in Vegas and blow the thing up? Mike, what part of the story is almost like this is almost too unbelievable to believe. I mean, it's either he's MK Ultra or he wasn't the one that did it. he was just, can help me understand this one, Mike.
Well, first of all, MK Ultra would be a lot cleaner, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
And whoever did it did not know about the Cybertruck. I mean, that's when somebody of that caliber, Green Beret, right? They're used to operating at a heightened operational tempo.
Right.
They would know the specifications of that truck, the explosive ordnance, and how it would react upon detonation.
Right.
Evidently, they did not. They didn't know that. So that was weird. That was weird. Plus, what he used was weird. If it were, so it's almost like he was, and even if that were MK Ultra, if that were him, he just lost it. That's still sloppy. It's too sloppy for Green Beret. It's too sloppy.
Oh yeah, I agree. Right? It's way too sloppy for a Green Beret. Don't operate. Special ops guys don't do that. So something got in that guy's head. Something took control of his mind.
That leads me to believe that. Now I'm going to bring up a scenario.
Okay.
Just a scenario. What if? That's going to go back to Mexico.
Okay. That's
what if they got to him, right? Okay. But if they set up everything and they got to him, and they were, because he had a brand new baby doll.
Yeah. Why would he kill him?
What if they got to him? I know for a fact cartels will not. They will not. They don't care about children. They don't care about family. They don't care about anybody else but themselves. And they will utilize anything they can to meet their objectives. And it looks like, if there's a signature, it looks like somebody got to him. Somebody got to him. We don't know who, but somebody got to him. And there he was. There he was sitting, and they say he took his own life, right?
Yeah.
That's another thing. When you have been in the bush one too many times, you kind of get used to it. So certain things will not make you snap because you're already in this mindset to operate like that. Now, I can assure you, the cover story the media is going to have to use is they're going to say this guy probably saw too much. He just saw too much combat or too much. They might use that word operational tempo. They might say, his operational tempo was so high that he just lost it, because it does go like that sometimes. But the whole setup, shooting himself, how the truck was set up utilizing a Tesla, not knowing the specifications about how it would detonate, it does not add up for a Green Beret. He would know all of that like the back of his hand. Yeah. And he would not, his selection of things would be different, utilizing fireworks and common things you can find at Walmart, and then go and detonate the doesn't, and then kill yourself in the process.
You don't fit with a baby daughter at home. Something is not fitting the MO here. So.
That's right. I believe somebody got to him. I do.
Maybe they threatened to kill his family. Maybe they threatened to kill him. And so you take yourself out, or we're going to kill your own family. Yeah.
There you go. Because I know if you're not going to get to a person like that unless you get to somebody close to them. Right. I know that for a fact. Because
so what was okay, and what was the message he's trying to send? Elon Musk at Tesla, Donald Trump's hotel. Was this the sign of a resistance? We've been hearing governors of California, Illinois, New York saying we're setting in laws, we're setting procedures, we're setting law enforcement in position for the Trump resistance.
They're too late. Okay. Fastball, listen, they're too late. You know what? I hate to say this, but we are so laxed in security. There's no way. Can they protect everybody in Congress? Can they protect everybody at the White House? Can they protect every governor?
No.
War has been declared on all politicians. All of them. All of them are targets right now. And when things go into effect and the clock is counting down, because we're looking at this weekend coming up, not this weekend, but the weekend after this weekend coming up, for operations to have initialized. From the looks of it, this could be part of that operation. A warning shot across the bow.
Yeah.
They're not going to engage that with civilians, but if they have to utilize civilians, they will. Right? They want to keep it military. And China they continue to have operations in Mexico, right? And sometimes the Mexican government does not know about the operations of China. What does that say? That they've been working with somebody else
With the
in
drug
Mexico.
cartels. Yeah, so China may be working with the drug cartels. They don't care about the Mexican government. They're interested in the real players, the real power, the real money, the real.
So we have, that's right. So we have a group of guys who are greedy. They are killers. Those groups in Mexico, and they have declared war on the USA. And believe it or not, I'll tell you something. A country is always surprised in those areas they never considered, and no one has ever considered a nation, right, to go to war with a cartel. Are you kidding me? That's
no one.
That seems like that's ridiculous. Like, why would a cartel? A cartel stands no chance. I think that's the most powerful army in the world. But that's why I'm telling you, this is turning into a nightmare.
It's gonna be ugly. Yeah, because they'll go after the way they took over Mexico, and I say this, the drug cartels own Mexico, is they killed the mayors, they killed the judges, they killed the political leaders to the point that these guys are scared to death of them. Whatever they want, that you can do, just don't kill me and my family. They basically have hijacked Mexico. So if they can do that to Mexico, they could use the same tactics against the American government by going for the people in position and their families. Same similar tactics.
I think they want kill shots. Yeah, they want. I can already tell you what they want. They want America to bleed in front of the whole world. They want to. They want to disgrace America by showing its weakness. They've already said that the blood's going to flow.
They don't want these borders. They don't want this border shut down, do they?
They don't want the fentanyl to stop.
No, they don't. And now they're making it worse.
Yeah, and now it's so bad that things have already happened, Pastor Paul, that, to touch a little baggie of fentanyl is a death sentence, even with gloves on. Oh. You got to have a certain type of, these guys are tech savvy. These guys, they have degrees. When was the last time you've known of a gang, right? And all of them have doctorates. This is what these guys have been doing.
I know.
This is what they've been. How in the world can you have? There was one small group that had, I believe it was comprised of about 400 or 500 people. All of them had doctors, and below them, I believe it was 5,000 or 6,000 below them. All of them had masters, a master's degree in engineering, psychology, and all these other areas of discipline. So you're facing an element that nobody ever saw. And these guys have been, they've been biding their time.
Yes.
And now they're going to make a move. This is
what's got you up at night, and we're coming in on the inauguration.
This does, yes.
I know, and so here we are, 18 days out from the inauguration of President Trump. And we got Jimmy Carter. Okay, so Jimmy Carter passes away, and he's going to be laying in state in Atlanta. There's terroristic threats all over this country. I'm hearing in Atlanta is one of the areas. Then they're going to move his body to the Capitol for 36 hours. Then he finally gets buried. But in that process, then you just take the Carter funeral situation. That's going to bring a high security into Washington. And then here comes President Trump and his inauguration. I mean, aren't you concerned? I would say that the country, is there something big planned? Do you think there is the wickedness of darkness to try to stop him from even getting sworn in, or assassinate him, or kill a lot of Americans that show up for the ceremony, maybe?
Well, one of his biggest opposing factors would be those of the Middle East.
Yeah.
Those in the Middle East, believe it or not. They want him that they don't want him to take office. No. Which is why the Houthis, all these Iranian subsidiaries, these attack dogs, have upped their ante against Israel. They're becoming quite specific against Israel, and their targeting methods are becoming quite lethal themselves. So Israel is also stretched very thin. It's only by God's grace that we're being sustained right now. Only we have the might, we have the power, but we do not have the coordination. We don't have people are not working together. We don't have unity.
That's
we have
true.
too much division.
Yeah.
And so division is division is one of the worst things to ever fight. It causes people to be demoralized within, the ranks of individuals. And so we have some different things that will take place in America. I can tell you right now, people may not like, they may not like what's about to happen. But what's about to happen is going to be so far outside of the ordinary. And Trump already knows that they're going to, try to paste this name to everything. He already knows that. They're going to blame it on him. He's ready to assume the blame if he gets, that far. But see, we as everybody outside of Trump they have to be very careful. Pastor Paul, I'm telling you right now, imagine Trump, he's inaugurated, he gets in the White House, and then something happens to Trump. That means it won't be Trump in power, it's going to be somebody else in power, right?
Right.
You have to really, these are the days when nobody should ever say this or that will not happen, because people are about to see, not just, you would expect heads of state to be targets, they are, and 1 or 2 to fall. But what if 12 fell? What if 20 fell? 20 were targeted or something like that. What if every single expectation was ballooned by a factor? These are the days we live in. They can't trust the person to the left or to the right of them. There's going to be betrayal. You're going to see that unfold big time. Nobody would suspect how that betrayal is going to take place. They're going to see betrayal, right? Yes. I warned everybody about something a long time ago. I said, we're moving into this digital age. And Christians better prepare themselves for this. There's an application that's being studied right now. It finally it's out there. It's somebody has perfected this software, but here it is. Anybody I've ever had contact with and had a discussion with or about, that person's about to receive everything I discussed. So if I were to say we go back 20 years and I said, that person's crazy. They don't, I wasn't talking to that person. I was talking to somebody else. Well, guess what's going to happen? That software is going to deliver that content to the person I was talking about.
Well, that's going to cause
chaos
in the land.
Do you realize that how many people are going to be? Can you imagine how many families are going to fall apart?
A lot, like 95%.
Just to know, because this is why I say Christians have to be highly aware of this, because if it's like a gift from the Lord. I asked the person one time, I said, listen, this person said, well, I just want to know people. And I said, well, you have to have your heart right. You got to have a lot of love. They said, well, I do. I said, okay, so if God showed you the truth about a person, would you love them more or hate them? If you saw that they were a child molester 20 years ago, would you love them more or hate them for what they did 20 years ago? I said, if you're going to hate them, God cannot give you the gift. He cannot do it. He's not going to give somebody a gift that's going to raise hatred, right? He can't do that, because everybody has a past, and some pasts are insufferable. They are. So if we learn the truth about someone, is it going to cause us to love that person more? Are we going to exercise forgiveness and truth? Or are we just, talking? So imagine a program that unveils that for you.
Wow.
That lets you know every dirty little thing about everybody.
Wow.
Can you imagine how many families would fall apart? Because I can assure you, everybody does not have. They have forgiveness on the surface, but they cannot forgive certain things within themselves. They're not to that point yet. And when that's unleashed, it's going to turn each country one by one upside down. It's going to attack the civilian populations. And it's not just coming to the USA. Right? This is going to be all over the place. And everybody has a digital device.
That's true. And everybody, and more are going to. Matter of fact, what you just brought up is something interesting. Our next webinar, guys, will be this month, January 24th. And we've come up with the title. It's Trump, AI, and the Cyber Society.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I know, Mike from the world, you'll have plenty to say.
there's some secrets
that.
about AI. Yeah, there's some secrets to AI that. Oh well, you want a secret tonight?
You want to tell us the secret tonight? Sure.
It defies belief.
Okay.
The war in the Ukraine.
Yeah.
Right. All right, everybody, buckle up for this.
I'm ready.
I can't go into detail, but I'm sure there are details out there. Be careful of where this trail will lead you, because everybody is not truthful about about what's really happening. But remember that movie, Terminator?
Yes,
right?
I do.
And
yes,
there's been a commander in the Ukraine, but the commander is not human.
What?
It's not human.
Is he Russian or Ukrainian side? Which side's he on?
Ukrainian side.
Okay.
But it's not human. In fact, it was the reason why Putin almost quit engaging with Ukraine, period. Do you know that?
No, I did not.
Because it's learning every single operation. It's learning. It launched, what was it? I think it was 2,800 drones. That it flew 2,800 drones.
It was the one managing.
It was highly effective.
It was. So it's an AI commander that was.
And it was cutting orders to human beings. It was on the radio to human beings. It was flying the drones. It was coordinating defensive and offensive operations. It's learning. It was a baby when it began.
It's running the war.
It's not a baby anymore. Not a baby anymore.
So an AI commander, if you will, was able to bark out the orders to the different divisions and units and fly 2,800 drones in precision where they're supposed to go. Basically, an AI commander in chief is right now running the war in Ukraine.
All it is doing is learning.
Learning how to be able to fight a bigger war for the United States. Apparently,
I'll tell you something. It's plugged in to some lethal systems, but the success rate of this device is extraordinary. It's extraordinary. Think of a machine. Think of a machine right now that would be able to engage every war on the planet simultaneously without heating up. That's what it has the ability to do right now.
Wow.
Think of an AI that not only could engage war, but it could engage in politics at the same time and do other things as well.
Well, that's the Antichrist.
Because people, they don't quite get the nature of AI. I told you a few year ago that I built a neural net. Right?
Yes, you did.
At COT.
About a year and a half ago, you said that.
You don't program the thing to do anything, right? It's a neural net. So either it learns or you just, threw away your resources. So AI learns like a person because it's based off the neurological development of the human brain. But that pace can be iterated, right? Sent into circles at a very fast pace. So it can go from 0 to a toddler in a few hours. You can go from 0 to a teenager in a week. You can go from 0 to, a 10,000-year-old Einstein in a week and a half, because the learning curve is exponential, right? It's exponential.
Yeah.
They lied to people saying that AI just has not rivaled anybody. You know what? Big Blue was 500 times smarter than Einstein. And that was back in the day. Today we have AI systems that some of its smaller counterparts are about 10,000 times smarter than Einstein. Something happened at CERN that's a direct result of AI. They're breaking all barriers. They're breaking all barriers. Nobody has heard anything from CERN in a while.
No, we haven't.
Any sense or any contribution past it. No. They're even suppressing what's happening there. They have to.
Because it would scare the human race if we knew
exactly. Some things happened, but people love to record things, and unfortunately they couldn't stop this. So I'll tell you this: science fiction is no longer science fiction. How about that? And people are going to find out anyway, and it's reshaping everything.
So Mike, when you say that the commander is not human. In other words, he's not a robot walking around in the field. This is a brain center, some type of machine, brain apparatus that is calling all the shots and managing this war. Like a group of generals sitting around looking at a map on a table. Forget that. This thing is doing it all in the sky, on the ground, in the air, in the boats, on the ships.
Well, how do you think see the Ukraine has been effective in this regard? It is holding off Russia.
Yeah,
it is.
It has been.
And it does so not to defeat Russia, but to stop Russia on every single front.
Yeah.
And it's been succeeding in doing that with minimal resources. You don't run a proxy war against a major power. You don't do that. That's ridiculous.
Unless you have an incredible advantage.
That's right.
The advantage is the brain power of this that can manage resources so effectively that nothing like it.
Mm-hmm. So it's already, it's been out there for some time. Now, here's the bad thing. Once you develop AI like that, to get that same level of leadership into another piece of hardware is done through the press of a button. That's the bad part. Suppose somebody stole the software, right? A terrorist organization stole that software. They would instantly have a machine that would be capable of operating, a war with Western or NATO tactics. And this is out there. But more and more people are going to begin to hear about this, and it's just beginning.
Well, I guess the Lord led us to for this webinar coming up. We didn't know this information from you at all, but the Lord spoke to us. Me and Heidi were talking today, and my son Paul, and it came to us that this webinar, if you look at what's going on today, this webinar is going to be called Trump, because it's the era of Trump. Trump, the AIs, and the cyber society. And we thought we would take this as the title and get the best experts we could, of course, starting with Mike Around the World, to help us understand the next 4 years during the Trump era with the increased knowledge of AI and the cybersecurity, cyber everything society. What are we about to encounter? Where is this going? So I leave that with you. We'll talk more about that. Mike, I do have to bring up former President Bashir al-Assad. He was, he was poisoned first day of the year, and he choked, he coughed, he fell out of his chair. I understand they had to get medical personnel in there. They get him through the night. They stabilized him the next day. But boy, it didn't take long. I mean, he brought $130 billion out of the gold. Should that give you more than 30 days to live in Russia?
Yeah, they're going to continue to go after that guy. He is hated big time from many people. He's kind of like Saddam Hussein, who has caused a lot of people to suffer. Right? Yeah. He did essentially some of the same things that Saddam Hussein did. Throwing people alive in places where they shouldn't be, torture of families and children alike. So, a lot of people are going to be after him. In fact, he'll have a fate that's worse than Saddam's. Similar to Gaddafi and some of these other people, because he is, that guy is, he seems to be immune.
I just come in, I missed what they were saying. Are they talking about Assad? Because apparently Assad's been poisoned in Russia.
He's been running for a long time, escaping these consequences.
Yeah, no more protection.
Now that he has no more support from his own people, they will get him. Because Russia continues to be overwhelmed with now, unless I'm going to put a clause in there, unless there's an issue with Russia, period. And I hate to bring this up again, but even more Islamic forces are those who are tied to Islam or have entered into the ranks of the Russian army.
The Chechens.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now they're about to. I cannot help but to say during Trump's inauguration, if he gets that far, we're going to have to face that mechanism. And and I know they're ruthless.
Yeah.
They're not going to negotiate.
No.
They are ruthless, right?
No.
Here's essentially what we're facing. We have a lot of betrayal coming. People are going to see that in the Trump camp. They're going to see it in the Putin camp. They're going to see it in everybody's camp. Everybody who believes in Christ, remember, they're just men. And everything that's happening is happening for the deliverance of the saints. But people, we're going to see things.
Yeah.
We will witness a nuclear problem. A nuclear problem. We will witness that. But nature, what people call nature, that's going to be our worst enemy. The worst enemy. War is not going to compete with what nature will do. It will not compete
Well,
with
okay,
it. And no one can escape that.
Talk about the fog, because that's a big one right now. This fog is everywhere, and I've seen it. On my birthday, down in Clearwater, Florida, we were sitting there on the beach, just kind of we were just sitting in lawn chairs, relaxing, and beautiful day. And all of a sudden, this fog on a sunny day, out of nowhere, beautiful. The water was blue, the sky was blue. All of a sudden, there came a weird white fog, and it just blanketed the whole city. You couldn't see 2 foot in front of your face. And Mike, this is going on all over the country.
It's been analyzed.
And people say they smell chemicals. They smell something in the air.
It's been fully analyzed. Okay. Now, what the makeup of that is, it's been fully analyzed.
Okay.
And there's only one person, because a long time ago I talked about fog. Do you remember that?
I do.
Perpetual fog.
Yeah, I remember saying a couple things. You talk about a perpetual fog, and you talk about an ash environment. Okay, I remember those points. But talk about the fog.
Well, that dream about the fog, I've only known one other person that had a dream about fog, and that was you had a person that was Tanya from West Virginia in your chat room a long time
that was years ago. Yeah,
she was the only other person I knew that ever had that same dream about fog. That fog was it's a real thing. It's a real condition. Let's put it that way. Through multiple changes within the earth. I guess what people want to know is it manufactured. Well, I'll tell you something. If it was manufactured, nobody escaped it because fog dissipates and traverses the world. So if it was manufactured in another 72 hours, the whole earth will have been exposed, period. Right?
Right.
And nobody can escape that. Number two, though, if anything is meant to maim a person and they can't do anything about it, that's when the Lord nullifies it. He'll nullify it in a heartbeat.
Okay.
If it's meant for damaging the saints, but they can't do anything about it, right? They don't have to worry about that. That is scripture. The Lord said he's got that. So just like, was it Paul who was bit by a serpent? He just kind of shook it off and kept walking.
Right. Exactly.
So we do the same thing. When we can't do anything about it, we can't provoke, things, of course, and we wouldn't purposely stick our head in a box full of serpents. But when we can't do anything about it, the Lord has us. He's got our backs on that. But this fog, expect more of it. The reason why, I'll say again, not only do we have factories and everything else in the world, and explosions are taking place all over the earth, but we have a compression event in the atmosphere. So then everything up there is not going to dissipate normally, right? It's not going to be recycled back into the earth. We have volcanism. Just a couple of weeks ago, Pastor Paul, we were talking about that. Volcanism is about to begin again.
Okay.
In a very, very dangerous way. And people are going to know what volcanism is when they start looking off the coast, out there in the Pacific. They're going to find out what volcanism is. We have some monsters in the Pacific.
Okay, now what about these waves that hit Peru, Chile, and Ecuador here? Just rogue waves. It killed people. It destroyed boats. It wrecked coastlines, and they came out of nowhere. Mike, is that from volcanism?
Nope, that was from winds.
Yeah.
We know what a microburst is, right?
Yeah.
A microburst is essentially a downpouring of winds that will take planes out of the air. Now, amplify that due to cold weather and add the factor of weight to it, right? So if it can pull a plane out of the air and it is a known fact that a microburst can cause a tsunami of about they say 25-foot high wave, right?
Wow.
We already have rogue waves out there. We already have, wind-driven waves that have toppled ships. So think about a type of microburst with heavy cold air in the center. I mean, cold air that essentially is traveling at about 150 miles an hour and it slams into the ocean floor, except the volume is so large that nothing can stop it. That's almost like, that's like dropping a bomb right there on the waters and creating a tsunami. That's what it's like. So that was caused from temperature shears, from extreme cold temps dripping from the atmosphere. Meteorologists, in fact, they've been, I doubt if they're allowed to say it, but they've been trying to warn people that an event is coming. And some people have been throwing in some language. In other words, this Arctic event that we're about to have, we're going to have extremely cold air coming in from the upper atmospheres, dripping about, I'd say, maybe about 100 feet from the surface of the Earth. That's an instant freeze.
Yeah, we talked about that about a month ago.
Yes, yes, because this happened before.
Yeah.
Not only in the past thousands of years ago, but it has happened recently in our modern times, and it froze waterfalls, it froze water fountains, it froze ducks without distress. Can you imagine ducks in a pond and they're not distressed? They were instantly frozen. Right? It froze bugs. It froze everything. And we've had that in modern times. We're going to have that again during this hurricane, these hurricanes that were forming this year. Cold air hit the surface of the ocean, and it caused a thin layer of ice to form on the oceans instantly, right in the vortex.
So the cold air is coming right out of deep space, I take it.
Yeah, in deep space, cold air is so cold it will freeze. There's a movie that was written, and if you look into the writer of that movie, they were trying to communicate something that's been witnessed over and over again, something that may seem like entertainment, but it's not, because we'll eventually face issues like that. And all of this is being caused because of our sun.
Yeah.
The sun is going volatile big time.
Yes.
I mean, the sun is going to go, it's going to have some hyperactivity to it that we've not witnessed before. And that's going to affect all the weather here. So people ought to get ready. We're going to have that water event. We have not had the water event yet. We'll know when we have the water event, when there's not a dry spot on this earth that you can stand. That's when you'll know you had the water event. Following that water event, that climax, right? Because they're already starting to tell people, as well, what we talked about 10 years ago, which is that the atmosphere has potential to hold, factors more water than it used to. So now it can hold, in certain aspects, it can hold 5 times more water than it used to. A cloud may have weighed 250,000 tons. And so now that's increased. It's ballooned. The atmosphere has a lot more potential of holding moisture. That's where you get these atmospheric rivers from.
Yeah.
These are essentially suspended rivers over your head. They just kind of, keep that water, and then poof, it drops it all in one location. So this summer, everybody ought to be warned. In every location that experienced floods, the world's not going to tell anybody, so I'm going to go ahead and say it. But I want to reconsider your location. That's a fact. Nobody else is going to say that. But Pastor, watch what happens when this water comes. Some people have been getting flooded every single year.
Yeah.
At what point do they not heed the warning?
Yeah. So
they already know the map of the U.S. is going to change.
Yeah.
These are warnings.
The map already told us that.
Because we're not going to be so fortunate this year coming about. I honestly believe in it. I know I said that the hour of Babylon was 14th of December.
Right.
But doesn't it seem like we've had an escalation in all areas of things since the 14th of December?
Oh, yeah. Even since the 1st of January.
Like everything is gone. It's just going off the scales.
Yeah.
The water, nobody's going to tell those people in Carolina, don't put your homes back there, because Hurricane Elena, what if we have?
You're thinking we're going to have another one of those? And we're going to have
2 or 3.
Yeah,
Two or
I
three.
really feel like that this is year 25. We're going to see some very bad storms. Texas worries me in my spirit, but other parts also that we're going to see tremendous cyclones and typhoons also in Asia because something's happening. Well, the sun, you said it earlier, the sun is affecting the earth,
Yes, it is.
which is what the prophecies of the Bible said would happen in the last days. It said it would rain on one city and not two others. And then he said it would be drought here, but there'd be, extreme weather here. The sun would be scorching men. We're going to have heat waves. Do you see heat waves coming again this year, Mike?
Well, Pastor, 2024 shattered all records for heat.
Okay.
2025 is going to shatter every record we ever thought possible.
Here we go.
2024 shattered all the wind speed records. 2025 is going to be worse. 2024 shattered most of the flood records.
Yep.
2025 is going to be worse. It's going to be worse. So now we'll see.
We had the hottest day in December last month for something like 7 years.
Half of a country is going to be taken by water this year, 2025.
It's just going to be incredible events. So we're in this apocalyptic era now. I mean,
we are, and it's not going backward. It's getting worse.
Right, the earth is shaking and wobbling. The north, the axis seems like it's tilting. All of these events that are happening with it, we're seeing it is multiplying and quadruple and multiplicity taking place exponentially. So people need to give their heart to Jesus Christ. I mean, we've been preaching this. Mike, you and I have been on here every week since 2011 or 12, I think it was. And I mean, so for 12 years, 13 years, we have been begging people. And we've been saying, things are coming, things are coming. Well, guess what? The things we said were coming have happened.
Yep.
And beyond. We went there and beyond. And the Middle East, we said the Middle East was going to blow up. Here it is. We said Europe was going to have a war. Russia eventually. Here we are. You said Russia would never leave Ukraine. They're still there. I mean, everything we talk about is pointing to the coming of Jesus Christ. It's seriously, but before he gets here, according to the Bible, it's going to get worse. We're not there yet. I think we still got more to go, don't you?
Yeah, I think people assume that they're going to be alive when Jesus comes. Well, you know what? A lot of people have gone to be with him already.
Yeah, I know. That's true.
We don't know the day nor the hour for ourselves either.
No,
we don't know that.
Nope.
So my personal concentration is in the servitude part and the demonstration part to others.
Amen.
Because this time that we live in right now is going to become quite distressing for those around us. But that's actually an opportunity because basketball people do not listen when conditions are favorable to them. And look at the sin in the world. Look at the sin in the world. Look at the immorality because conditions are favorable to them. But if they have a shakeup, if their home is shaken, if their homeland is shook up and everything is shook up, if they become desperate, they're going to be looking for some type of salvation. It's going to cause them an alert will go off in their brains to stop the foolishness. The party's over.
Yeah.
Let's get back to, and they're going to reconsider who they are. The Lord will have representatives on this earth with his word to reach out in a terrible time.
Amen.
With the gospel of Jesus Christ for those, for those last few. That'll be a great opportunity because then the people who have stayed with the gospel all this time, and people thought they were nuts and crazy. Now it's not for vindication or anything like that, but those people are going to reconsider everything. Amen. Right? Yes, when they see what happens over Geneva, Switzerland, and Maine, there's going to be something that will happen over CERN that will maintain itself for I'm estimating about 5 to 6 days.
Wow.
Anybody who sees that is going to reconsider everything they ever thought was real. Because at that point, that's going to break every barrier.
He's basically saying a portal will stay open for 5 hours. Wow.
Reality they ever thought they had.
5 days,
we continue to go through an escalation cycle of something else. And we have hit the point where some extraordinary things happened. Now we have a lot of Delta operators coming forward, a lot of special operations folks coming forward, and they have a message for everybody. They have a message for everybody. So the Trump administration is going to be a very different one, and it has its own challenges, but there's some hidden stories.
It's going to come out.
are fully going to be revealed, right? They're fully going to be now when they are revealed. Again, it's not for the vindication of the Christian, but we already know about Nephilim. We already know about fallen angels. We already know about the origins of such things.
Yes.
But a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
They don't know that, but they're going to find out that this world, right, that they have been kept by grace. When they see it, they're going to say, well, the only thing that's kept us alive is God's mercy and grace.
Amen.
They're going to finally find that out. I believe that will happen, but still, the Lord will have his representatives here on this earth to person to person distribute his word.
Amen.
He can do everything by himself. He does not need us. He loves us.
Right.
There's a difference. You know, it's a big difference there. And so he already said he would work through us. He said, press down, shake together, running over, shall men give into your bosom.
Amen.
Well, that means he's going to work through us. Not supernaturally so much to everybody,
Gotta
but
work
through
through
us. And it will come through, that's right, through us. Yes. And that's exactly, by the way, that's what Satan attempts to stop.
Amen.
He attempts to stop a person. He wants the person to look for the miracle, like, you know, something to fall out the sky, when God has already decreed he would work through the vessels he has sent to this earth.
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
The people of the earth. So that's why people have this contradiction within their own spirits. It's almost like you know, you're supposed to do something, but you don't want to do it, you know, because I heard guys say one time, well, if God here, he would just do it himself. He does, but he already decreed that he would do it through us.
Yeah, he's not going to break his word. He's not going to change his word.
He won't. So think of this. Everybody should think of this. Think of it the next time your spirit changes and God puts anything on your heart and you don't do it. Just think of that. That he already said he's going to work through us. Yes. Somebody will not get the benefit of servitude if we hold back.
So that's why we should be obedient, folks. You'll eat the good of the land. Mike, this has been powerful. You've dropped a lot of bombs today, but you've also confirmed something about the webinar coming up, that we're on the right track.
Okay, guys, I'm out. God bless. See you tomorrow.
Because you broke some stuff out, that a lot of areas, a lot of concerns, a lot to pray about, but a lot to be excited about, because Jesus is still on the throne.